Welcome back to the ADT Coaches Spotlight on ESPN News.
We are back as we continue the countdown to Separation Saturday here on the ADT Coaches Spotlight. Dave Revson, Ivan Maisel, and Jim Donnan, joined on the telephone by Rodney Gilmore, who's going to be calling the game between Michigan and Minnesota, the battle for the Little Brown Jug. The Gophers 6-0 for the first time since that Rose Bowl season of 1960. But, Rod, is this team for real?
I guess we're going to find out, aren't we? Minnesota has this history under Mason of, scheduling non-conference foes that are not the toughest, and that gets them in a good position to get to a bowl game. But this is going to be their test, a Michigan team that should be refocused, I think, because they only have one goal left, and that's got to be to win the Big Ten, and they need a little help with that.
Great job in prepping for every team and get a chance to watch the tape. What do you think it is about this Michigan team with so much firepower offensively that they just can't put anybody away? They get ahead in the first half, and then the other teams come back. You think it's halftime adjustments, or what is it?
Well, Coach, I think part of the problem with this team is the running game. I mean, I think Oregon did a good job of kind of showing that you really want to force them to throw the ball more than 40 times a game, and just really forcing the quarterback, John Navarre, to be the guy to beat you. And I think everybody's going to kind of really load up, take away the run game completely, and see if they can chuck it 55 times and win a ball game. And they have not been good doing that, not to mention their special teams.
Well, Rod, I'm glad you brought up special teams, because it looks like there's a big discrepancy in Minnesota's ability to return punts. Marion Barber's doing a great job, and Michigan's ability to cover them. I mean, how big a role do you think that will play?
Well, I think it's huge. I think it's Michigan's inability to cover punts, and sometimes their ability to kick the ball. They're having trouble getting those things done. And don't forget that last year, Minnesota was pretty good at blocking kicks. I think they blocked 6 kicks last year. They haven't gotten any this year, but given the success that Indiana, Oregon, and Iowa had at getting at Michigan's punter, I would expect that Minnesota is going to try and make sure that they get one of those blocks. It's been 3 weeks in a row that Michigan's given up a block kick.
They begin to understand why they are next to last nationally in net punting. It looked like a rugby game out there when they were playing against Iowa. It's a little bizarre, Rod. All right, well, Rod Gilmore, we really appreciate it. Have a great time. And what they're hyping is perhaps the biggest game, college football-wise, in the history of the Metrodome. Should be a great one, and we'll be watching it. That was Rod Gilmore.
That was Rod.
He's gone.
Yeah. Sorry you didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah, I know. It hurts a little bit. All right, here is Lloyd Carr talking a little bit not about his special teams, but about officiating.
Well, I think that's disappointing, absolutely, because we have. But I'll say this: the most disappointing play of the entire game is we hit Chris Perry. Terry Malone made a great call, 2nd and 2. Perry breaks a run down the sideline to give us the ball at the 18-yard line. And the guy on our sideline called holding on Steve Breston, which is absolutely bad call. And so we should have had an opportunity to win the game or to put it into overtime. And because of a bad call, we didn't get that. And that, it's just inexcusable.
In the span of 3 weeks, you guys have gone from talk about a possible BCS title game appearance to now fighting for your conference.
Well,
survival. How can you keep players how can you keep them from getting down when something has changed that quickly?
Well, I don't think you can keep people from getting down. I don't think you can not expect unbelievable disappointment, because the harder you work, the greater your commitment and desire to achieve high goals. When those things, when you meet adversity, there is tremendous. I would be disappointed. I would be more disappointed if they weren't disappointed, because that's all part of it. But the deal is to get back on your feet and fight back and have a determination and a spirit that I'm going to fight like hell. And when you have good character people around you, which we do, we've got tremendous kids in this program, And there's no predictability about this game. But the one thing I am confident of, I know this team is not going to, they're going to fight back, and I expect them to, and there's no question in my mind they will.
Do you feel there's any chance that they're so deflated this team doesn't tank?
I don't deal with those. I'm not worried.
Well, if history is to be our guide, things don't look so good for Minnesota. The Wolverines 65-23-3 all time against the Golden Gophers. And as you can see, under Lloyd Carr, Michigan a perfect 6-0 against Minnesota. They are 9-0 against the Golden Gophers all time at the Metrodome and have won 14 straight in the battle for the Little Brown Jug. 100th anniversary, by the way, of the battle for the Little Brown Jug. Yes, that is clearly nothing to sneeze at. And coaches, we continue talking a little bit about this game and this Michigan team that has faced some adversity now a couple times this year. How do you see them being able to bounce back?
Well, they got to bounce back. You look at the high expectations going into the season. Everybody picked them to maybe win the Big Ten, be in the national title hunt. They waxed Notre Dame, then they go out and lose to Oregon. Then they come back and lose in the league to Iowa. Their team's got to react. And a lot of times when the pressure is not on you like it was before, these kids will relax and play. They've been pressed up here in a couple tight games and haven't reacted like they need to. Regardless of what the officials' calls are or regardless of what happens, you got to be able to make something occur as a football team. And down the stretch, they've lost 2 games they should have won.
Well, Ivan, quickly, we talked about special teams. Anything else that jumps out at you about Michigan?
Absolutely, Dave. They have recovered 2 fumbles as a defense. Last year at this point, they'd recovered 7, and especially against a running game as strong as Minnesota's, they've got to be able to get the ball back. And if they're not forcing turnovers, that's a big problem.
And the big thing is it's not just a running game, as they showed last week. I mean, Asad Abdul-Khalik can throw the football, too. And that presents some real problems when you're facing a two-dimensional attack like that. Glenn Mason's going to talk about the offense and how it's developed and how big this play was. Asad Abdul-Khalik establishing himself against Northwestern. Will it carry over against Michigan? The coach joins us next.
Welcome to the ADT Coaches Spotlight, brought to you by ADT, America's residential and commercial security leader. Call 1-800-ADT-ASAP.
Minnesota getting ready for one of its biggest games in recent memory. 6-0 for the first time since the Rose Bowl season of 1960, already bowl eligible. Here's how Glenn Mason stacks up against the other 4 Gophers coaches who preceded him. The only one over 500, 40-37 right now. You see Lou Holtz in there at 10-12. All right, we are back. It is the ADT Coaches Spotlight as we do count down to Separation Saturday. And in the case of Michigan and Minnesota, it's Separation Friday as they kick off the weekend in grand style at the Metrodome. Dave Revson, Ivan Maisel, Jim Donnan, and we are happy now to be joined by Minnesota head coach Glenn Mason. And, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time. First of all, tell me how important it was for you guys to establish that 2-pronged attack. Everyone had been talking about you as a rushing football team. Asad Abdul-Khalik showed on Saturday. That's not all you are.
Well, you know, we weren't that concerned about it like a lot of people. We kind of did what we had to do during our first 4 games, even though I knew we had the ability to throw the ball. In fact, in some regards, I think we throw the ball better than we run the ball. But obviously, Saturday, getting down like we did, we got back through the air, and then we mixed it up until it became apparent time was on our side. Then we buckled it back up again.
Glenn, this is Ivan Maisel. I got to tell you clean up nice, but I wanted to ask you. I was teasing about TCU earlier in the show that Gary Patterson went to the Glenn Mason School of Scheduling. Do you really feel as if these 6 games have prepared you well, or do you wish you had had a bigger test before Friday night?
Hey, Ivan, I like exactly where we are right now, to be honest with you. You know, it's when you get in the Big Ten Conference, and I'm sure there's a lot of coaches who are going to say the same thing in their respective conference, but each and every week it's awful tough. And now that we've added a 12th game with 85 scholarships, sometimes it's who can stay healthy and who can't.
Mace, this is Jim Donnan here. Talking about your team, this is a big game, but you look throughout the season here, you don't have to play Ohio State, you don't have to play Purdue. You got to like where your team is right now and its chance to win the Big Ten championship.
Well, I like where we are right now, Jim, that we're 6-0, but obviously we got a very formidable test staring us right in the face and playing Michigan. You know, I told my press conference, I asked everybody there, I said, who are we playing Saturday? And I'm not looking for the obvious, I'm looking for the symbolic answer. And one very astute sports writer, Charlie Walters from the Pioneer Press, says, you're playing the Yankees. I said, that's exactly right. We're the Twins, they're the Yankees. They've got history on their side. They've got all the great players, all the accolades. They happen to have 2 losses, which is hard to explain, but we've got a monumental task in front of us.
Well, Coach, it's interesting. Coach Donnan brought this up as well, but I want to elaborate on it. I mean, here you are sitting here with probably the best team in recent memory for Minnesota. How do you feel about the fact you don't play Ohio State and Purdue? Would you like to go out and prove yourself against them?
No, we'll just keep it just the way it is right now. To be quite frank, hey, you know, it's the way it is. You know, in our league, the Big Ten Conference, because it's a rotating schedule,
right,
you'll see some teams that, you know, some years have to play all 3 of the so-called marquee schools, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And some years, some people only play 2. Some years, some of our schools only play 1. Some of us never get to only play 1. So it just works out that way.
Glenn, 22 rushing TDs, as much as you had all of last year. Have you been well, let me ask you this. What's been the biggest thing that surprised you about the ability to use all 4 backs as easily as you have?
Probably the biggest surprise is how they've handled it. You know, in an era where we try to glamorize the individual, this is the team game. It's the greatest team game that's ever been invented, and if you don't watch out, they pit one against the other, and you can't play them all at the same time. You know, last year we only had 1 guy left standing. That was Terry Jackson, who did a great job. Marion Barber's back, and Thomas DePay is healthy, and we got this freshman youngster, Lawrence Maroney, on the scene, and they've handled it better than I could ever expect. I mean, they root for each other, and they just feel whoever's in there is going to do the job.
Well, defensively, you got some big tests this week going up against Navarre, against the great running game with Perry. How do you feel your defense matches up with this attack?
We got our work cut out, Jim. I'll tell you, you look at that, you look at their lineup, Carr, and they got, I don't know, they got 2 or 3 All-Americans in the offensive line. Navarre is everybody's candidate for all the quarterback awards. Braylon Edwards is a great wide receiver. I mean, they can do it all. And you know, there was a day and time when you played Michigan, you had to worry about stopping their running attack. And you know, now sometimes they throw the ball 40 or 50 times a game, and they've got the ability to do that. And it's awful hard to prepare for them.
Well, a couple of huge tests coming up for the Gophers, Michigan and Michigan State, next 2 games on the schedule. Coach Glenn Mason, thanks a lot for your time. Look forward to seeing the battle for the Little Brown Jug on Friday night.
I've never seen the thing.
You'd like to see it up close, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot. That is Glenn Mason, head coach of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. It's true, they haven't had it in his tenure there, and hoping to pick it up this week. Penn State hoping to pick things up. Hasn't been so hot for them. They face a very tough and balanced Purdue team. We get ready for that one as we hear from Joe Pop.
Years of college football coverage, ESPN is proud to welcome you inside the raucous Metrodome, where tonight number 13 Minnesota plays host to Michigan. Minnesota is atop the Big Ten standings with a record of 2-0, one of 5 teams undefeated in conference play. Michigan at 1-1. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to College Football Friday. I'm Sean McDonough, and it's great to have you with us for what the locals are calling the most important game played by the University of Minnesota on the football field since 1960. That was the last time they were 6-0 in that season. They went on to the Rose Bowl and won the national championship. Michigan was dreaming about a national championship just weeks ago, but they've lost 2 of their last 3 games. So So that's out the window. Now they have their eyes firmly on the Big Ten championship. And Rod and Mike, one thing that these two teams do have in common, and they certainly don't have common histories, is quarterbacks with a lot of experience who get a lot of grief.
Well, I think that's right. And in a big game, I've always believed your quarterbacks have to play big. And Asad Abdul-Khalif for Minnesota, he understands that, but he hasn't played well in big games in the past. He's struggled. He told us yesterday, I gotta avoid the big, nasty play in this game. But you know what? I think he'll be better off if he turns around and gives the ball to Marion Barber. He's the best running back they have in Minnesota. He does a great job, and I think he's a key to their offense tonight.
It's the same thing I'm going to say, Ron, except I'm going to change the names for Michigan. And John Navarre, quarterback, has just about every record in passing at Michigan, but that bottom line haunts him. 0-6 versus ranked teams on the road. They're on the road tonight versus a ranked team. John Navarre has got an absolute gun, but sometimes it's an errant gun. So it would behoove him and the Michigan team to turn around and hand the ball to Chris Perry, who's 5th in the nation at $1.29 a game. Rely on the running backs a little more. Don't put it all on the quarterback so much.
Michigan's won the last 14 in this rivalry head-to-head, but Minnesota is the favorite here at home tonight. We'll be back with the kickoff in a few minutes. First, back to the studio. Here's Reese Davis.
Sean, guys, thank you very much. Trev Alberts and Mark May here with me. And, guys, Michigan has found ways to lose twice this year. Special teams problems against Oregon and Iowa. Their mindset tonight.
The emotional state of Michigan, I think that's the whole key to this game, guys. I mean, the last 3 games, you have to admit, they just have not played well. It's a mandatory must. If they're going to win the Big Ten, they have to win this game, Mark. I think they get it done. At the end of tonight, Michigan will be 5-2 overall.
Well, I think you're wrong. I think Minnesota will continue to stay undefeated. This is the biggest game for these players in their program, Trev. And guess what? There's magic in the Metrodome. The Vikings are undefeated. The Gophers are undefeated.
What about the Twins?
We're talking football here.
Big difference between a Viking and a Gopher, Mark.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Minnesota trying to recapture the little brown jug. It's been known to bring seniors to tears, and Dinkytown will be on celebration alert if Minnesota can bring it home.
ESPN's College Football Friday, brought to you by Washington Mutual Home Loans. We write our own approval rules so you can get into the house without hassles. An equal housing lender. And by Wendy's new home-style chicken strips. Another reason it's better here.
Tremendous excitement inside the Metrodome in Minneapolis. And moments ago, the Gophers took the field before the sellout crowd. They've played the sellouts in recent years, but usually it's when they play Iowa or Wisconsin, their 2 biggest rivals who bring a lot of their own fans. Tonight, almost everybody in the house wearing the maroon and gold of Minnesota. A moment ago, actually live down on the field, here's Alex Flanagan with Glenn Mason.
Coach, people are calling this your biggest game since 1960. Your players are definitely saying it's the biggest game they've ever played. And how do you manage the emotion?
Well, we knew that there'd be a lot of hype, Alex, around this game, and our whole deal has been on focus. And if you wouldn't be excited tonight, there'd be something wrong with you. But we worked hard week, and we tended to business, and I think we'll play well tonight.
Michigan comes into this game with a balanced running and passing game. How do you effectively stop both of those?
Well, we're going to have to cheat a little bit, to be quite frank with you, because they're an awfully talented football team. Don't be misled by those 2 losses. They've got as good as talent as anybody in the country.
You've had tremendous success running the ball, too. Any reason to believe that you won't try and pound the ball against Michigan tonight?
Oh, against that defense, we're going to have to be balanced. We're going to have to mix it up. We will not be purely running the football. If we're just purely running the football, we're winning, I can tell you that.
All right, Coach. Shauna, calm Glenn Mason down here.
Yes, indeed, and he hopes his team will reflect that. Gentlemen, the big question about the Gophers is how good are they? They are 6-0, but by Glenn Mason's own admission, he doesn't really know how good they are yet. They played a weak non-conference schedule and obliterated those 4 opponents. And the toughest game they've played so far is at Penn State. They haven't played a ranked team yet.
No, they haven't. And Penn State had a lot of success running on Minnesota, and Northwestern early in that game was just abysmal for Minnesota. They looked awful. They got a good chewing out on the sideline. They went absolutely rolled them. But this is the test. They need their guys to not be wide-eyed tonight. Come out and match punch for punch with Michigan.
I think we'll find out about that tonight, but also for Minnesota. Michigan's been in games like this. They know how to handle games. Minnesota could be so wired for this game. Something bad could happen early if they don't pay attention.
And you wonder if you're Lloyd Carr, if his team is at the other end of the emotional spectrum. So much to play for a few weeks ago. Now they're down to the Big Ten, and they know one more stubbing of the toe in the Big Ten Conference, and they could be out of that race too. Here are their results. They were rolling after the win over Notre Dame.
There's a big letdown for this team after a couple of weeks into the season, especially Notre Dame, my alma mater, which they shelled. People were saying this might be the best team in the country, Michigan, and that's what, especially the seniors, that's the way they wanted to go out. And you're right, when you're Michigan, you want to be in the national title hunt every year. They know they're not in that anymore, so it's Big Ten or bust.
Reese Lloyd to kick off for Minnesota. And he booms one into the end zone. Carl Tabb takes a knee about 7 yards deep. John Navarre, the fifth-year senior, four-year starter. He and Rick Leach, the only quarterbacks to start 4 season openers at quarterback at the University of Michigan. And as you guys were discussing, he gets a lot of criticism. A lot of the numbers are good, but the big number that you guys reflected on during the opening, winless on the road against ranked teams.
Yeah, I don't know how justified the criticism is. This team is not supposed to throw the ball 55 times a game. That's not John Navarre's style with this offense.
Michigan starts on the ground in a good hole for Chris Perry. Out to the 27 for a gain of 7. The safety, Eli Ward, made the tackle. The rest of the skill position players on offense for Michigan: Dudley, a blocking fullback; Braylon Edwards, one of the best receivers in Michigan history, and a very talented offensive line, and a veteran group as well. On 2nd and 3, it's Perry again. Very close to the first down at the 30-yard line. Mark Losley made the tackle. He's the starting defensive end with Paul Nixon at the other end. Montgomery and Reed in the middle. Their leading tacklers are Terrence Campbell and Ben West. Kyle McKenzie, the nephew of Reggie McKenzie, the other linebacker. And in the secondary, Justin Fraley has come on in recent weeks. He was a reserve at the beginning of the season, but has started the last 2 games and has had an interception in each game. 3rd down and an inch. And Navarre uses that 6'6" frame to pick up the first down.
Well, this is going to be root hog heaven for Michigan. This is what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to establish the running game, especially between the tackles. They love pulling the big guy, David Boss, 75. They're going to run between the tackles. Perry will start there, may bounce it outside. Incumbent on the 2 D tackles, Anthony Montgomery and Darrell Reed for Minnesota, to at least eat up blocks, Rod, and let the linebackers get in the play.
Well, they have to. When they've played on the road, their 2 losses this year, they were taken out of their style of play.
1st and 10. Perry took the pitch. Poor tackling by Minnesota. And Perry all the way out near midfield, down at the 47. A 15-yard run. Eli Ward, the safety, again called upon to make the tackle.
A great job again, this O-line. Look at their blocking. The key is the O-line. They're on their feet downfield. The big block there, right guard Matt Lenz threw it about 5 yards downfield. These guys are 3'10", 315. They stay on their feet and get in the face of the defenders and lock on.
4 plays, 4 running plays.
Do we see a theme?
Perry dancing out across midfield. Well, this makes sense, guys. We looked at the results, but both losses for Michigan on the road, and in both games, for whatever reason, they got very pass happy. Threw the ball a lot more than they did in the 4 victories all at home.
Well, I think they got away from the run a lot sooner than they wanted in both of those losses. Oregon kind of took them out of the game.
Score
they
did
got
that,
behind. But then against Iowa, they still threw the ball 49 times, and that's not the way Michigan plays the game. John Navarre is at his best when he throws it 28 or 30 times, not 49.
He threw for a school record 389 yards last week in the loss at Iowa. Perry again stopped short of the first down at the 47. They'll need 4 on 3rd down to move the chains.
Now here's what we're talking about with John Navarre. In his 25 wins as a starter, he averages 28 throws a game. In those losses, 41. Now, it tells you a little bit that, okay, they've had to throw the ball, right, but it also tells you something about play selection. they felt the need to use him more. He's like a pitcher with a pitch count. You get over 30, it's not so good.
Will this be the first pass for Michigan? On 3rd down and 4. Navarre with time, throws short of a first down. Braylon Edwards the catch coming across the middle, but he was driven back by Ben West, the former walk-on who earned a scholarship after his 2nd year in the program. Now a 5th-year senior. Here comes the punting unit.
No, I don't think so. 2 yards, you know what? They've been running the ball successfully. I tell you what, I think this is a good call.
Well, every Michigan fan is going, not the punt team, please.
Yeah, we'll explain that when they first bring out the punt team, but I think this is a good call. They've had luck running the ball, but they're going to pass it here. But I'll tell you what, I would think they'd run. Oh, quick punt. You're right, Sean.
And a nice job done by Navarre, but they don't get a good bounce, and it goes into the end zone. Michigan's had a lot of problems punting the football in recent weeks, particularly last week at Iowa.
Well, they go in a formation that is a shotgun, a short punt formation. Navarre gets rid of it. Nobody back from Minnesota because they had to play for the 4th down play.
I'd have gone for it. I'd have gone for it. They were running the ball well.
So here comes Minnesota on offense. One of the leading rushing teams in the nation, led by Assad Abdul-Khalik, the senior from Elizabeth, New Jersey. And like Navarre, a 4-year starter. He hands off to Thomas Tapé. And he is the biggest and most powerful of a quartet of backs we'll see, including Marion Barber III. Ellerson and Hosack have big playability on the outside. It's a young and improving offensive line. The best of the group is the Remington Award candidate at center, Greg Esslinger. He started last year as a true freshman. Tapé, this time, stopped for a loss. Carl Diggs, one of the Michigan captains, made the tackle. Up front, the veteran group, 3 seniors and a junior, Stevens, Hoyer, Bowman, and Massey. Diggs with Reed and Woods, an emerging playmaker at outside linebacker. They had questions whether LeSueur would play tonight. Shazer, Jackson, and Curry in the secondary. And at the moment, we do not see LeSueur on the field. 3rd down and 8. Unusual long yardage situation, but the Gophers convert. They are 60% for the year on 3rd down conversions. If you're looking for reasons why they're 6-0, that's one of the biggest. Usually they're in short yardage to convert. That time they picked up 14 on 3rd down and 8.
60%. Rod, that's an incredible number for 3rd down conversion. 60%.
What do you look for? Most teams about 42, 43% is pretty good.
That would be great. You see probably most teams in the mid-30s.
Jared Ellerson, the 14-yard gain. He had the 96-yard touchdown reception last week that got them going at Northwestern after they were down 14-0. The pass thrown to Marion Barber, incomplete.
It's a big game for Minnesota, obviously, and as we talked to players in the last day or so, including Abdul-Khalik, he said he was nervous. He started thinking about the game Monday. He was getting excited about it, and all the other players as well. And you want to control your emotions when you're playing a game of this big, Mike.
You can see some guys getting tired early in the game, wondering why they're so tired. It's because they're very hyped up.
I mentioned the record day last week for Navarre. The same was true for Abdul-Khalik, as his yardage total last week at Northwestern, the highest of his career. Jared Ellerson took the ball. We mentioned his big playability. They tried to find a number of ways to get him the ball. Pat Massey made the tackle. There are the career best numbers in just 17 pass attempts. He's averaging under 15 attempts per game. This is a team that runs the football with regularity and success.
And they run it differently. They'll run it up the gut. They'll sweep it. They'll reverse it. They'll throw the speed option in there, not the sproption like we talked about. You know, with last week.
Out in the flat, it's Marion Barber, taken down by Marlon Jackson. But Barber has the first down out near midfield at the 47-yard line. He's Marion Barber III. His dad played on the Gopher team in 1977 that beat Michigan, one of 2 Minnesota victories in the last 33 meetings head-to-head with the Wolverines.
He had 3 receptions coming into tonight's game. He was split out that time. Nice play to get him the ball in space.
Barber's a sophomore. Here's a true freshman, Lawrence Maroney. And he carries into Michigan territory and down at the 46. A gain of 7. Marcus Curry made the tackle.
Well, there you see that Minnesota will use 4 running backs, and they're all a little bit different. Barber is the main guy, the slasher. Tapay, he's a guy that's a hammer, but look at the average he gets.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, that's great running.
13 touchdowns isn't too bad either for Barber, huh? One more and he's got the season record.
He's tied for the single season record for rushing touchdowns right now. Here's Tapay again. And he battles for yardage after picking up the first down. They'll give him forward progress to the 39. First down, Minnesota, an impressive opening drive for the Gophers.
Now here's what's interesting. Anytime, guys, we're doing games, and you see games nowadays, you talk about the offensive line. He's 320, 315, 330. You look on this O-line, not one guy over 300 pounds. I was talking to co-offensive coordinator Mitch Browning, who also coaches the tight ends and tackles. They have the Denver Bronco philosophy. They don't want the big guys. They want the smaller guys small, 290, 295, zone blocking, getting on their feet, pulling and opening holes.
Marion Barber, first down and more inside the 25, a late flag thrown back at the 26-yard line. And a holding call will negate a 13-yard run. Might have been against Jared Ellerson, the wide receiver, trying to block downfield.
Holding, offense, 10 yards, still first down.
Well, when you run as much as they do, that's exactly what your wide receivers, Sean, are asked to do. They have to block downfield.
Yeah, but not hold.
Well, he just didn't do it right. He just obviously didn't have his hands on the inside where you don't get caught. Learn the right technique there.
Yeah,
obviously, the proper block is what you want to do, but, you know, you have to get away with it.
It's from the spot of the foul, so the ball is at the 36, setting up a first down and 7. Midway through the first quarter, no score. The play clock running out, and it has expired. No whistle, though. Boy, the play clock's been on 0 for forever, and finally it is spotted by the officials.
Yeah, about 3 seconds too late.
It wasn't just what you saw. We are synced up with the stadium clock. The stadium clock was also at 0 for several seconds before the flag was finally thrown.
There was a malfunction with the play clock. The play clock will be reset. The down will be replayed. First down.
Yeah, the malfunction was it ran out and no one noticed.
Well, you know, Abdul Khalid, he didn't think that it run out because when it was down to 0, he started changing the play.
We talk about the success of this Minnesota rushing attack, and you figure sooner or later they're going to pile 8 men up on the box, the other team. But Minnesota says no, that isn't necessarily the case. We might stay in a run, but it's Abdul Khalid who does a lot of the line of scrimmage to get them to different runs, different directions, run to pass, sometimes pass to run. Here's Barber running, first down. Down at the 27-yard line.
Well, you know, Minnesota's linemen are doing a good job, Mike, of cutting off the inside linebackers. They're not letting them get to the outside to make plays. You watch the work of the center. You watch how they get out. You see big number 68, Mark Setterstrom, getting out there, cutting off linebackers. That makes your outside run really effective.
Did you see Ellerson out there got a block that time, and when the guy was getting away from him, he let go. He learned his lesson.
No more holding.
And a 9-yard gain for Barber. 11th play of the drive. Short drop by Abdul Khalid. Over the middle and caught down to the 20-yard line. Goes the backup tight end, Matt Spaeth. They play a lot of 2 tight end sets, so you'll see Spaeth a lot, although the other tight end, Ben Juszczyk, is more frequently a receiving target.
They like this kid. When I was talking to Mitch Brown, he's listed at 6'6". He thinks he's more 6'7", 6'8". He said he doesn't run as well as UTEC runs, but you know, he's a young kid, and says maybe if he grows too much, he may find himself on the O-line.
That's his 5th catch of the year. There's Barber inside the 10, touchdown!
Excellent job of blocking by the O-line. There's got to be some great enthusiasm there. They're not blowing people off the ball. They're walling them off. Great job. The back getting through, jumping, and good blocks downfield as well.
Reese Lloyd adds the extra point. Minnesota's made 117 consecutive PATs now. A 20-yard touchdown run by Marion Barber III. Caps an 80-yard drive in 12 plays for undefeated Minnesota. Marion Barber with a 20-yard touchdown run, and Minnesota has the early 7-0 lead.
Excellent blocking again, the zone blocking. Here's Ryan Nylander, Mark Setterstrom here. Here's the hole. Marlon Jackson comes and does a shoulder tackle, awful tackle, but look at the seal right in the middle there. Lawrence Reedover pursues a bit. Marlon Jackson has got to wrap up when he comes across and make that tackle. Again, excellent blocking on the O-line. They're not going to pull you off the line of scrimmage. They're going to position block on you. The hole will be open for a second or so, and the backs are through.
Offensive line looks for real.
Oh, they sure do.
Talk about Minnesota, whether they're real or not, Sean. The offensive line certainly looks for real.
And there's the record all by himself now. 14th rushing touchdown of the season for Marion Barber III. He had shared the record with Darrell Thompson, one of the all-time greats here in Minnesota. Now their radio commentator, and Jim Perkins, who played here in the mid-70s. Lloyd boomed one out of the end zone. Here's Alex Flanagan.
Hey, Sean, the older Barber was supposed to be here tonight, but Marion's 17-year-old brother plays high school football. He's actually coming to play here at Minnesota next year. So parents Karen and Marion split the duties. They told me they kind of flipped a coin, but you'll see throughout the night Karen is on the cell phone. She is keeping Marion III's dad up to date all night and just told him about that score, you guys.
What do we do without cell phones?
You can get a connection in here?
That's probably difficult. The Barbers have Michigan roots. Marion, the dad, was from Detroit, was recruited by Michigan, but came here to play at Minnesota back in the 70s. Braylon Edwards, the intended target, and Yuki Dozier had the coverage. And there's the list that we spoke of a moment ago. Darrell Thompson is in the next booth doing the Minnesota radio. I think he could still play. I can't say that about you two guys. Darrell Thompson looks like he could still play.
He's got 14. This is game 7, guys.
I think he'll score
add
again.
to it a little bit?
He'll score again.
What do you mean we can't play, Sean? What is that all about?
He wasn't. You have retained the physique necessary.
He wasn't in the gym with us.
Here's Edwards again. Spinning back, trying to get extra yardage, but he's gang tackled at the 26, led by Kyle McKenzie. That'll bring up 3rd down and 4. We talk about good genes. Marion Barber has them, and Kyle McKenzie does as well. His uncle Reggie McKenzie, the great Buffalo Bill. And he also has a brother who's playing for the Chicago Bears, Keith McKenzie. 3rd down and 4. A 4-man rush. Navarre throws, and it's incomplete. We had Jason Avant coming open. Justin Isom, a safety, had the coverage, but the pass was a little bit short. And another punt upcoming, and this time it will be the regular punting unit. Adam Finley back in there. They used Garrett Rivas, the field goal kicker, for some punting duties last week at Iowa, not successfully.
They've got that same weird formation they used last week with 3 protectors, and look at the wide splits with the linemen. That's an area that Minnesota can attack.
There's a flag down on the line of scrimmage. Marion Barber back for the punt. He let it bounce, and it takes a great roll for Michigan. And if that's a penalty against Minnesota at the line, it'll be a first down for the Wolverines, a 53-yard punt. But it's against Michigan. We should point out that the Wolverines do not have special teams coordinator Jim Bacher here tonight. He is not with the team for personal reasons. That's all we know about the situation. But Lloyd Carr and the assistant coaches sharing the responsibilities. Right. They all have different assignments, and that's standard.
Normally how it is anyway. Exactly right.
Well, the one change you saw with that punt formation there, they did not run the punter to the right side to kick the ball like they did last week. They used the personal protectors, all three of them, and they just kicked it straight away that time.
Right. What it was last week, that Rivas was in punting, and he would take the snap and he would run to his right. The option was kick, but if the run was there and you could go somewhere with it, go ahead and run, and it didn't work too well all the time.
Yeah, they got one blocked, at least one.
They came after him, and Finley just did get it off. Barber with running room. Knocked out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Thrown out by Lamar Woodley, a 33-yard punt and a 13-yard return.
ESPN's College Football Friday, brought to you by Porsche for the pure sport of driving, and by McDonald's.
Well, they're fired up for Minnesota football and very excited tonight about this start for Coach Glenn Mason. He couldn't have envisioned anything much better than what he's seen so far.
Yeah, but he wanted to see his rushing offense, and he got it with a variety of players. Ellerson on a reverse. That's one way to do it. And you come in with Marion and get it inside. And then how about Tapay up the center and then finish it all off with Marion Barber. Busted a big tackle attempt by Jackson to get into the end zone.
Great field position from the Michigan 42. Play action pass by Abdul Khalik. He's going deep for Hosak. Incomplete. Right along the sideline. He was open. Marcus Curry had the coverage. And it was very nearly a completion inside the 5.
What a great play call that was. You just ran the ball down their throats, and now you go to the single receiver side. Hosak gets turned around a little bit, gets his hands on it.
Well, they got the matchup they wanted. They were looking for single coverage with Curry and Hosak. You see Abdul Khalik stand in there, but they got that big matchup, a difference of about 6 inches.
2nd and 10. Tapay could not turn the corner. No gain on the play. Lawrence Reed made the tackle. The middle linebacker. It'll be 3rd down and 10. Reed had a team-high 8 tackles last week at Iowa. He's tied with Pierre Woods for the team leading tackles for the year entering tonight's game.
And it's interesting when you're the different way to take on blocks for a linebacker. When you have that big O-line, you have to use that form. You have to take them on, smash them off a little bit. With this line, they're going for position. He's got to use his speed a little more, maybe come underneath some blocks and make the tackle, or definitely beat him before he gets walled off. Different kind of blocking for him.
3 receivers, and Tapay is the lone back. On 3rd and 10, the option. And Abdul Khalik tackled after a 2-yard gain by Larry Stevens. So it'll be 4th and 8. And Glenn Mason's going to send the punting team on.
Well, Khalik told us yesterday he needed to be willing to live to punt. He didn't want to get himself into a bad situation. He didn't like the play. He checked to something and did not pitch that ball to try to make a big play. He was willing to live with punting the ball.
He paid for it a little bit. Larry Stevens gave a nice shot.
Reese Lloyd from Dover, England, came to this country at age 15 when his dad, Bryn, who's a soccer coach, got a coaching job, coaching a club team and a high school team. Little pooch punt, angled for the corner, and rolls into the end zone. 3:17 left in the first quarter. Minnesota leads Michigan 7-0. As Michigan takes over 1st and 10 from its own 20-yard line, take a look at the new color of money, the redesigned $20 bill, which in the case of Rod and Mike very rarely comes out of the pocket. The old ones have been in there for a long time, unused.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't be afraid every now and then, fellas, on these road trips to
normally when you
spring
do something like that, don't you kind of get to like test the product a little bit?
Free samples?
Yeah.
Not tonight, anyway. It's a good-looking $20 bill, though, isn't it?
Sure is.
Here's Michigan, thoroughly outplayed to this point, but down just 7-0. And it's Chris Perry for a yard, and that's it. Eli Ward, their big hitter in the secondary, came flying up from his safety spot to make the tackle.
Well, in order to stop Michigan's run game, Mike, you've got to get that guard or that offensive tackle that comes around to kick out off that double team, and they stuffed him right in the hole that time.
And that's Dave Boss, big 315-pounder. He'll do a lot of the pulling. They bring Ward up, the safety, bring another one up in the box to stop the run.
Greg Hudson, the defensive coordinator, talked about Ward needed to have a big game against this balanced Michigan attack. So far he has. That could be a flag for a late hit. There is no flag. Andy Minery, the tight end, got knocked down well after the ball fell incomplete. Terrence Campbell knocked him down.
Well, you'll see the late hit there, right?
Well, that's long gone.
Oh, that's way after.
Yeah, you can't do that. That'll cost you down the road. That's just a dumb play there. But you know what? It was all because the pass was a bad one. And we'll talk about that. Navarre not on right now.
Saw Greg Hudson, the defensive coordinator. 3rd down and 9. Navarre 2 out of 5 for 8 yards. Flush from the pocket, breakdown in the coverage. Wide open is Tyler Ecker, their 3rd string tight end, and Terrence Campbell knocked him out of bounds at the 44. 1st down, Michigan, a gain of 23, and that's not what Greg Hudson had in mind.
John Navarre has received so much criticism, he's almost become immune to it. That time, he moves out of the pocket and he puts the ball on the money. But a couple of throws earlier, guys, he was way off. And if you sampled the chat rooms and read the papers out of Ann Arbor during the week, he took a lot of heat from fans and the media.
Well, some media members, writers in particular in Ann Arbor, talk about how he might be the most criticized player in Michigan history. Chris Perry, the ball carrier, a gain of 3. Never criticized is Reese Davis.
Well, thank you, Sean. At least I do my very best not to be. Certainly nobody's going to criticize TCU's Ty Gunn against South Florida. Game going on over on ESPN2. Beautifully thrown ball to Corey Rogers, and the Horned Frogs trying to stay unbeaten on top of the Bulls by 7.
Another one of those non-BCS conference schools in the top 20 trying to make a case for themselves this year. They played well against the BCS schools.
2nd and 7. Perry, lots of running room. 1st down, Michigan. And he's into Minnesota territory at the 44-yard line. Again, Eli Ward made the tackle with help from Yuki Dozier.
Michigan needs to stay with it. Stay with the run. You see they're getting stuffed a couple of times, but just stay with it. Keep pounding, keep pounding. This is the difference in O-lines. Again, Michigan's is big, so we'll see if it has an effect later in the game. 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, if they start to wear on the defense a little bit.
Play clock at 4. Navarre on 1st and 10, in trouble, got it off. Complete for a short gain. Eric Clark had the pressure on, and it was Andy Minery, the tight end, with just his 2nd catch of the year. He's a senior from Hamilton, Ohio.
Remember this play for later. I don't think Navarre should have thrown this ball. He's under duress, and he throws it into coverage. Now, later in the game, that could be a problem. That's a ball, Mike, you throw away. There's nothing that good can come of this if you keep thinking you can make plays like that when you're under duress and there's good coverage in the middle of the field.
And he is going to have some pressure on tonight. Minnesota with 14 sacks, they will get in his face.
2nd and 6 in the final seconds of the 1st quarter. Perry dropped for a loss, breaking through Terrence Campbell, the sophomore from Atlanta. He's been their big playmaker all season long.
Yeah, you don't see many linebackers 200 pounds, and I mean 200 pounds maybe with some weights in his pants. He ain't even 200 pounds.
He's not close to that.
But what an athlete this kid is.
A They call him Stick, understandably so, at less than 200 pounds. 1 quarter played in Minneapolis. Undefeated Minnesota leads 7-0. Minnesota with a 7-0 lead as we head to the second quarter before this sellout crowd in Minneapolis. It's the biggest college football weekend of the season. Miami, Florida State, Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee on ESPN2, and Ohio State, Wisconsin on ESPN. Separation Saturday all day on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2. Some huge games.
Big time games. Some teams get a chance to get back in the spotlight. Bobby Bowden in Florida State haven't been out long, but he's looking to really get back into it with a win over Miami.
From the 45, 3rd down and 10 for Michigan. Navarre's pass complete. Steve Preston short of the first down as he went out of bounds, marked at the 40-yard line. Tremaine Banks chased him out. Tremaine's a redshirt freshman.
Smart coverage, good call by Greg Hudson, the defensive coordinator. Play back, give him the underneath thing and say, you know, catch it. We're just not going to give you 10 yards.
I don't know about you, but every time the Michigan punt team comes on the field, I start going, oh, what's going to happen now?
They don't have the 3 back this time. It's a little different.
And much tighter along the line as well. Finley does a good job. Gets it out of bounds at the 11-yard line.
Ugly, yet effective.
29-yard punt.
Lloyd Carr can take that all day.
Well, I'll tell you, so for Minnesota, the huge game that it is, you wondered, you know, were the players going to get the big eyes? You know, were they going to see those helmets and say, uh-oh, you know, we have a lot riding on this game. We're in the national scene. We can really jump on center stage here. And I think they've answered it, at least at the beginning of the game, the question pretty well.
Well, you remember what it's like. You get in a game like this, and as you go through warm-ups, you get so exhausted that you think you can't play the whole game because you're so excited.
From the 11, Marion Barber came in motion, but they handed it to Thomas Tapay. He's out to the 13, a gain of 2. Here's Reese.
Our high school showcase game of the week takes us to Florida. Lincoln from Tallahassee, number 6 in USA Today poll. That's them in the white against North Florida Christian. That quarterback, Joe Bowsman. Michigan fans, pay attention. An Ohio State commitment. Finding Fred Rouse and Lincoln Tallahassee's up 27-0.
That's all Ohio State needs, is another big-time receiver who's over 6 feet tall.
And that quarterback looked like he was a good-sized kid.
Tell me about it.
2nd and 7. Thomas Tapay stopped at the 14-yard line. Tapay, the 5th-year senior, grew up playing soccer in Liberia. His family moved to this country when he was 9 years old. He lived in the Twin Cities area. His sister is still in Liberia. She's a student, Winifred, and obviously a lot going on in that country. Great unrest. They're concerned and trying to get Sister Winifred back here.
But he says later on, down the road, he wants to go back. He said he thinks he's missed out on a lot by not being there and wants to end up back there.
3rd down and 7. 12 running plays called by Minnesota. Just 5 passes so far. That's standard for the Gophers. Abdul Khalik close to the first down. He appears to have it across the 21. Marlon Jackson, the safety, converted corner, made the tackle.
Very smart play. He looked to his right. He looked for his tight end, UTEP, and he wasn't there. He saw that he was tied up with a couple of guys near him, and he pulled the ball down. Smart play, avoided a turnover by not throwing the football.
Nice quick decision.
That's been the thing that's killed him in the past, and he admits it. He's been prone to the big mistake, particularly in the big game. That's why he's gotten the criticism we talked about. Coaches say he's a much better decision maker, and Assad says that himself. Here's Barber out near another first down. He got 9 on 1st and 10. Pat Massey made the tackle with help from Leon Hall. Hall, the reserve cornerback, playing tonight without Jeremy Lasser on the field.
You know, Minnesota runs, the outside zone play an awful lot, and they get you going with that. And then they get their tight end, UTEC, and they drag him across the field.
There's LeSueur. Thomas Tapei on second and short. Out to the 35 for a first down for Minnesota.
It's amazing, this running game. Last year, Tapei was part of a twosome. He and Terry Jackson both gained over 900 yards. Today, Minnesota and West Virginia were the only two teams in the country to have two backs over 900 yards. For West Virginia was Avon Coburn and Quincy Wilson, Otis Wilson's kid. But Terry Jackson and Thomas Tapei, they're not even starting. It's Marion Barber's job, so it's amazing the depth they have.
Minnesota third in the nation in rushing, fifth in scoring. They're number one in the Big Ten in scoring. Abdul Khalik showing his escapability, and he spins near another first down all the way to the 44-yard line. Looks to be a half-yard short. Marlon Jackson made the tackle for Michigan.
We talked about the drag play to UTEC, the tight end. That's what he's looking for right there. And he pulls it down because UTEC was covered. And now you see him making another positive play, Mike, without letting something negative happen when it easily could have happened had he thrown the ball.
You get a quarterback that can do that, it makes your D lineman, and I've been there, look like, we call it getting Frankenstein. You get your ankles broke, you look like Frankenstein trying to tackle him as he just spins and goes by you. That's a great move.
That didn't happen to you.
Oh, I broke so many ankles.
Second and less than one. And Tapei lost about a half yard. We'll check that. Marion Barber. Larry Stevens penetrated the offensive line and made the tackle. We saw Glenn Mason. It's not very important to him, but he has a chance for a milestone tonight. A win would be the 100th of his career. When you coach at Kent State, Kansas, and Minnesota, as he has, you're doing a nice job to get to 100 wins. As he said, a lot of times you're selling insurance at those places before you have a chance to get to 100 wins.
He's selling a running game tonight, and everybody's buying it right now.
Third and one. Barber following Tapei, running room in the corner. Marion Barber out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. They'll mark him out at the 11, chased out by Leon Hall.
When you can have a lead blocker like you did in Tapei, hook the man you're blocking. Hook him. I mean, that's a cardinal sin on defense. You cannot get hooked. Tapei does it. Blocks the inside man trying to come out. You got to be able to come across the face. They lose contain, and he frees him up.
Hey, this is Michigan, man. This is Michigan that Minnesota's just running over.
They're spreading them and running. Spreading them and running.
45-yard gain for Barber on the sidelines to catch his breath. 96 yards rushing already in 20 minutes of action for Marion Barber. First and 10 from the 11. Lawrence Maroney. Now you're wondering, why does a true freshman have to play? And the plan when the season started was that he wouldn't play in preseason practice with Jackson and Barber to pay ahead of him. But Glenn Mason told us it was the other running backs who said to Coach Mason, hey, this guy's good. Get him. We'll give up some of our time to get him on the field. He can help us win this year. Don't redshirt.
Yeah, that's unique. You would expect that with four guys trying to carry the ball, you'd have some bickering going on, but there hasn't been any of that.
What they said is this kid took all the hits in fall camp. They said, and then when he got his chance in some games, he ran well, and he deserves the carries he's getting.
10th play of the drive, second and 7. Here's Maroney again. Nobody in a white shirt near him. Touchdown, Minnesota.
There are a couple of ways you get beat running the ball, guys. It's either getting punched in the mouth and run over, or position block where they're on you like flypaper, and you just can't get off them. It's so frustrating. You want to punch them, but you can't get off of them. They just kind of engulf you, and that's exactly what Minnesota's doing.
Reese Lloyd adds the extra point. Maroney, the freshman, having an 89-yard drive. Took 10 plays, 5.5 minutes off the clock, 14-0 Minnesota.
14-0, and you can't make tackles if you're on the ground. Watch the effective blocking by Minnesota here. They get their linemen out. They get right on top of them, right there. Take a look at that lineman there. Now watch what happens to the Michigan defense. Guys start going down. 2 guys on the ground. Watch right here. Watch number 43 come across Diggs. He's going to get picked up right at the end by Tepe. That's an inside linebacker coming inside out. There's a fullback ready to meet him. You got a safety trying to make a tackle on the goal line. Jackson can't get it done. Minnesota's touchdown.
Scored by the freshman Maroney. All 10 plays on that drive were running plays. Carl Tabb from the goal line, running back the kickoff by Reese Lloyd. And he got banged down shy of the 20-yard line. Tackled by Jeremy Fowey.
Michigan still, Rod, cannot get out of the game plan. Don't have Navarre start chucking the ball around. We already showed you the bad effectiveness that can be when he's throwing 40, 50 times. Stay with the game plan.
Yeah, against Oregon, this was about the time that they panicked. And then they got further behind.
Perry bounces outside with some running room, then cut it back inside and got to the 28-yard line. 1 yard short of the first down. Kyle McKenzie made the tackle on Chris Perry, the senior, who's been averaging 129 yards rushing per game. And we'll see if Michigan stays patient with the run.
Well, I think they have to, and I think they have to keep giving to Perry. To me, watching him on tape, Mike, he's not making or breaking as many tackles the last couple weeks as he did earlier in the season.
LeVar with a lot of time going deep, and it is incomplete. Jason Avant was open inside the 30. Tremaine Banks had the coverage, but they could not make the completion.
Well, Tremaine Banks, Mike, he does something here that is really dangerous.
You're not kidding.
If you go inside, you better know you can get the ball. Watch him go inside. He goes inside and the ball's over his head. He got lucky there.
Yeah, he was in trouble as soon as he turned his back and got spun around. Anytime a DB has to spin and turn his back to the quarterback, he's in a bit of trouble.
Went for the deep ball on 2nd and 1. Now they have to convert on 3rd down and 1. And Perry gets stacked up. Did not appear to get to that yellow line. Although where the officials running in, they might mark it on the line. Kyle McKenzie made the stop. Looks like they gave him a very nice spot there across the 29-yard line.
Yeah, he got it because of that. He said McKenzie and Dan Kwapinski, the D-line did a nice job of meeting him right in the hole, but got the first down. Yellow line says so.
Never lies.
Never lies. Eye in the sky don't lie.
Yep, there it is. Crowd booing. They didn't like the spot either.
Okay, now you're Michigan. You try to pick up this first down. Let's see if they actually get it here or if it's just a matter of the spot.
Close to that line.
That's pretty generous.
Wow.
Oh boy.
When the
Never got close to blind.
When the refs get graded on that one, I think there'll be a minus there.
From the 29, 1st and 10. 8 minutes left in the half. Navarre throws it out for Brian Thompson, the backup fullback. And he was tripped up quickly by Tremaine Banks. Ball spotted at the 32. It'll be 2nd down and 7. Michigan, with its national title hopes gone, focusing now on the Big Ten race, and they already have 1 loss in conference. While Minnesota trying to remain undefeated. They're talking not only here in Minneapolis about Big Ten, but they're talking about BCS Bowl game, Rose Bowl, and who knows. A win tonight, they control their own destiny in the Big Ten. Chris Perry out to the 35-yard line. Sean McDonough with Mike Golick, Rod Gilmore, and Alex Flanagan. Delighted to have you with us for this College Football Friday. Lloyd Carr wasn't all that excited about playing on Friday night. They moved this game to Friday a couple of weeks ago in anticipation of the possibility that the Minnesota Twins would have a home playoff game here tomorrow.
And they took the hook early in the series to the Yanks, didn't move on, but this game was already moved to Friday.
Lloyd's problem was with the disruption to the academic schedule for his football team. Here's Perry with a flag down, and they blow the play dead.
Well, Lloyd Carr can't be too happy with the call.
On the offense.
With what's going on. His team last week, Rod, against Iowa, they came out smoking, jump out to a 14-0 lead, and then gone.
Well, I think it's always a problem when you have goals to win the national title.
Yep.
And then you lose that goal early in the season. It's tough to get your guys to refocus.
You reassess. What are we playing for now?
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing.
Let's check in with Alex Flanagan.
Hey, Sean, along those lines, you think after losing 2 of their last 3 games, you might think the motivation would be a problem for Michigan, but team captain John Navarre says not so. He said the team captains held a number of team meetings this week, but the team is focused and motivated because they still believe they have a shot at the Big Ten title, and they are clinging on to that hope.
Screen.
Well set up. Perry stopped short of the first down, we think, unless we have another mysterious spot. Eli Ward made the tackle with help from Darrell Reed.
You know, I don't know that I buy what John Navarre told folks and what Alex just reported. I mean, he may say that, but anytime you have to refocus on the fly like that, I think that's a hard thing to do when you lose your goal. They thought this was the best team they had at Michigan since '97.
And there's no way around that. I mean, that if you're at Michigan, that has to be your goal. And the way it started out this year, you know, after that win over Notre Dame, 3-0, and people were starting to whisper, maybe this is the best team in the country, that absolutely needs to be your goal. And it's gone now. You see they're going to be a little short.
Glenn Mason was giving the officials an earful, and he still is. That's a bad spot. You can read his lips. That's the second bad spot. A helmet came off and rolled toward right where they marked the football.
As long as there wasn't a head in it, it's okay.
No.
You know, I think Lloyd Carr's going to go for this, and I don't like this. You'll see the spot here, but going for this on 4th down, to me, that says you're desperate. You got a whole lot of time left in this ball game, Mike. A whole lot of time.
I can't stand the fact that I agree with you on that. I really do. You can't get out of your game plan right now.
I think his team's in need of something to shake it and get him going. I like the call.
Well, if they miss it, they might as well go home.
Well, the spots they've been getting, they might as well go for it.
That's right. They might have the first down right now. Navarre using that 6'6" frame, appears to have the first down and does. They'll mark it near the 40. First down, Michigan with 5:53 left in the first half.
I still don't like it. I think it's a desperate move. I think it sends a message to your team. We have to score on this drive. And if you don't score on this drive, what does that do to your team? I think it deflates your team.
I agree with you. It certainly worked out for him here, but I am a little surprised this early they would do that. But that's why we're here. Lloyd Carr's down there.
Doesn't it say I have confidence in you to pick up the 6 inches we need for a first down?
That would be the other thing that you would say. Yeah, there's 2 sides to everything, Sean. You're right.
Navarre looking deep again, looking for Braylon Edwards, and it is incomplete. Coverage from Yuki Dozier, who almost got hit in the back by that ball.
Yuki Dozier did nothing but plant himself in front of the receiver. He didn't look back. Rod, he just sit there and said, okay, I'm just going to watch your hands go for it. I'm going to stay right where you are.
Yeah,
stay right where you are.
Well, and there's no pass interference because there was just as much contact caused by Edwards as it was by Yuki.
Dozier's been an improving player. Coach Hudson said he used to be just a guy. Now he's a guy you can really count on. Perry skipped ahead for a couple to the 43. And they'll bring him another 3rd down and 7.
You never want to be just a guy. You never want to hear a coach say, well, what kind of a player is he? He's just a guy.
Just a guy.
Just a guy.
I just want to be a little more than a guy.
Yeah. Just a guy. You won't play very much.
Well, Coach Hudson, when he went on his recruiting trip to Notre Dame, thought he would fit right in. Then he saw Mike Golick, then a player. He said, I realized maybe I'm not big enough to play at Notre Dame. Look at the size of Golick, but Coach Hudson did play.
He went there anyway.
At Notre Dame.
I didn't scare him enough.
Not much of a rush. Flag thrown in the offensive backfield by the referee. The pass caught by Steve Breston, a redshirt freshman. But it's a holding call against Michigan. They would have had a first down to the 44-yard line on a gain of 13, but it comes back.
That was an excellent pass by Navarre. Minnesota gave a little cushion there.
A little?
Holding offense. 10 yards, previous spot, third down.
Oh, this ain't nothing for Navarre now. All his passes have been long anyway. Here's another one as well. Let's take a look.
Well, keep your eye right there. It's Chris Perry who gets in there along with Adams.
Stanovich, yeah.
Stanovich is in there, yeah. He's the one who was holding, and Chris Perry helped him out a little bit.
I don't know about that one either. It's not like he really grabbed him. Yeah, I just kind of pushed him from behind. I don't.
You can see my clinic I'm holding. You can't get thrown around the back.
So now third down and 17. Again, just a three-man rush. Deep ball, and it is incomplete. Right through the hands of Tremaine Banks. He had the coverage on Carl Tabb, and Tabb looked like he might have given up on that route.
Yeah, he did. He went out of bounds, and he did. He didn't go near it at all. Had protection this time, steps up, heaves it deep. Actually, it was a smarter move not to intercept the ball. They'll get better field position now.
Yeah, Tremaine Banks in great position, and you know, when you know the team can only throw deep routes, you can cover them.
That's exactly
you don't get
right.
fooled, and they're laying back waiting for the deep ball.
Finley's punt, taken at the 24 by Marion Barber. And he's down at the 31-yard line. A 45-yard punt by Finley. So all's well with the punt game tonight for Michigan, but that's been one of the few highlights for the Wolverines.
ESPN's College Football Friday, brought to you by Gateway. 50 new products and 3 ways to get there. That's the way things should be. And by 1010-987. No commitment. It's 3 cents a minute and 39 cents to connect.
Renewed enthusiasm for this Minnesota football program here in the Twin Cities. A sellout crowd on hand because Minnesota is 6-0 for the first time since 1960.
Something good happened to them that year, didn't it?
Went to the Rose Bowl, won the AP National Championship. They went to the Rose Bowl again after the 61 season, the 62 Rose Bowl. That was the last time they played in the Rose Bowl. They haven't had a share of the Big Ten title since 1967. We're thinking about all those things this year after this terrific start, and a good start in the game tonight as well. Lawrence Maroney out to the 36-yard line. Marlon Jackson made another tackle. Guys, it's always dangerous to question effort, but if you're Lloyd Carr, you saw a wide receiver give up on a route a moment ago, and I know you talk about the great tackling, the great blocking on the touchdown run by Maroney and how hard it is for the tacklers to get off those blocks, but you wonder if they were giving maximum effort to get off. We've seen a lot of Minnesota runners get a long way downfield before there's anybody in a white shirt near them. Already 157 yards rushing. They're averaging about 7 yards per carry. And there's another first down on Ellerson. Carry to the 42-yard line. Here's Reese Davis.
All right, Sean, when we join you on the Olive Garden halftime report, we've got another Big Ten game in prime time tomorrow night, Ohio State, Wisconsin. Barry Alvarez will join us. Also have the Friday night tailgate to look ahead to the weekend and Florida's other big game. What about the Badgers and the Buckeyes?
Well, I'll ask Barry Alvarez at halftime, will he continue to run the football against the #1 rush defense in the nation?
And that Ohio State-Wisconsin game is so important, guys, because Ohio State does not play Minnesota. And the way Minnesota's playing, Ohio State's got to keep up, man.
Have we seen that happen in the Big Ten before?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Abdul Khalik. All kinds of running room now. And he got 9 to the 49-yard line of Michigan. Ernest Shazer finally made the tackle.
If you're coming up on the blind side of a quarterback that can run, you have to attack his outside hip. Here comes Pierre Woods running straight at him, and he gets sidestepped. The first thing when I got in the NFL, they told me when you're playing against John Elway, if you're coming up onto his backside a little bit, go to the outside of his hip, because he's going to roll on you and get outside. Pierre Woods needed to be wider on that one.
John had more spins than the top.
Boy, he did.
Lawrence Maroney on 2nd and short has the first down to the Michigan 42-yard line.
Yeah, Maroney's in there now, but Marion Barber is looking more like a Heisman candidate than Chris Perry was. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Trev told us earlier in the year, Trev Alberts told us Chris Perry was a Heisman Trophy candidate, and I said you don't make him in September, right?
Well, you don't.
Okay.
Well, early in the season, I mentioned the name Steven Jackson, my friend, and he's still way up there as well. Marion Barber certainly making it a bigger name for himself.
Are you two done patting yourselves on the back? Can we resume our action here, or should we stick with the self-love-a-thon? Lawrence Maroney, the ball carrier to the 38-yard line. You mentioned Trev Albert's comments. I'll be interested to hear what he has to say about Minnesota at halftime, because he was less than confident, shall we say, about Minnesota's chances after the 6-0 start. He wanted to see more, which a lot of people did.
Exactly.
But that got used here locally. The media brought it to the attention of the players. Hey, Trev Alberts on ESPN questioned how good you guys really are.
Trev get in trouble with somebody. Every year he just gets somebody mad.
That's his job.
Yeah, he does it well, I guess. Yeah.
2nd and 6. Thomas Tapé with a flag down. He went down for a loss. Back at the 40. The clock now a factor, 1:14 left. They do have all 3 timeouts left, each team holding against the Golden Gophers.
Sean, I want to go back to a point you made earlier about effort. And I think that is something that's going to be addressed at halftime by Michigan, their coaches. I expect that Lloyd Carr will talk to his guys about their redefined goals and about the effort on running plays, because Minnesota's run up and down the field on them. And in the second half, I think we might see something different, a little bit more pride out of Michigan.
Sean, it is a great point. I think effort and the frustration of big, strong guys on defense trying to play through blocks but getting cut off, and then the frustration saying, oh, I'm cut off again. Now I can't get to the play. They have to show patience on that defense. They want to attack. They've got to use their hands better and stay on their feet.
Ball back at the 48-yard line, 2nd and 16. Abdul Khalik spinning again. And fellas, 14, 17, 21 down to Minnesota. That's like being even more behind against other teams, because Minnesota hangs on to the ball for so long. Lloyd Carr said one of the things we need to do is stay on the field on offense, because if we don't, Minnesota stays on the field all day.
Well, I go back to that 4th down play, because I still believe that sent the wrong message to the Michigan players that they were in a desperate mode.
Why are they letting the clock run down as much as they are? Abdul Khalik going deep for Hosak. Incomplete. I guess that's why maybe Coach Mason just didn't feel confident in their ability to get a first down, but they're in plus field position here and just content to let the clock run out.
I think he's content with the first half, and plus he had a 3rd and very long and didn't want to have a bad play happen. He'll go in 14-0 at halftime and be happy about it.
And you know why he'll be happy about it? Because let's look to the 3rd quarter, guys. Minnesota has outscored their opponents in the 3rd quarter 42-0. They have not given up a point in the 3rd quarter. I'd say they take that score going into halftime. See what Michigan can come out with in the 3rd quarter.
You do the old 2nd punt for Reese Lloyd. Doubles as the place kicker and punter. First Golden Gopher to do that since the great Gino Cappelletti back in the early 50s. Aiming for the corner. He missed it by a long shot. They'll mark it out at the 33-yard line.
Broke the vending machine. It was easier.
I thought you meant you broke the 20.
No, no.
LeVar crunch on the last play of the half by Paul Nixon and Darrell Reed. Looked like the mouth guard went flying right out of there.
I think that was an ear. That's an ear. That's an earpiece. That's somebody's earpiece. Oh, man. flying. Oh, wow.
Other than that, Mr. Navarre, how'd you enjoy the half?
Going to be some words in the halftime.
Here's Alex.
Guys, I'm down here with Coach Carr. Coach, scoreless in the first half. How does the game plan change in the second half?
I can't hear you.
Scoreless in the first half. How does the game plan change in the second half?
Well, we've got to stop making penalties, and we got to run the football better. And the biggest thing, we got to protect better.
How do you rate your players' effort and emotion level right now?
Well, it doesn't matter what happened in the first half. We got to do a better job in the second half.
What do you tell them at the half to get them fired up for the second half?
I tell them they got 30 minutes to win the Little Brown Jug.
All right, Coach, thank you.
And we've had possession of that Little Brown Jug, which goes to the winner each year of the game in this rivalry since 1987. Glenn Mason says he's never seen the Little Brown Jug. He's halfway there tonight. 14-0 at halftime. Here's Reese Davis.
John, Glenn Mason might be able to sip the fruits of victory from the Little Brown Jug before it's over. If this keeps up, glad to have you with us on the Olive Garden halftime report. Lloyd Carr wasn't crazy about playing on Friday night. Maybe we see why.
Did I say Michigan was going to win the game before the game?
Yes, you did.
I did, and I was absolutely wrong. I didn't know that Michigan's going to come into this game, act like it's a scrimmage out there. I see absolutely no emotion, and give Minnesota credit. I thought the only thing that separated them, Mark, from being a very good team to a great team was their defense. Their defense is dominating Michigan right now. Minnesota with a complete effort. I was wrong, absolutely wrong.
Well, thank you. I'm glad. As I said before the game, Minnesota will win this game. It's only halftime. What's key in this football game, the second scoring drive of Minnesota. 10 plays, no runs. They are dominating the line of scrimmage.
They have absolutely run the ball right down Michigan's throat in the first half, and the Gophers off to a great start, a very weak schedule, making a statement so far. Still a second half of football to go. We will talk with Wisconsin head coach Barry Alvarez. Badgers welcoming the Buckeyes on ESPN Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. The head Badger joins us in just a little bit. The Gophers are rolling up 14-0 on Michigan. Michigan and Minnesota. It has been a nightmarish first half for the Wolverines. Gophers on top by 2 touchdowns.
The Halftime Report is brought to you by the Olive Garden, where great Italian food tells you when you're here, your family.
Including our game tonight, 10 of the top 25 on the family of networks this weekend. Georgia and Tennessee, 7:45 Eastern on ESPN2. Then the Big Ten Showdown in Camp Randall on ESPN at 9 o'clock Eastern. Got a Big Ten Showdown going now. What happens in the second half?
Well, for Glenn Mason, head coach of Minnesota, he tells his team it's a great start. Let's become great finishers and put the hammer down in the second half.
If you're Lloyd Carr, pick up some chairs, start throwing them, break chalkboards, do something to light a fire in your team. They're playing with absolutely no emotion right now. Unbelievable. I can't believe I'd ever say that about a Michigan team.
A 14-0 lead for the Gophers. We'll see how the second half unfolds after this.
Halftime here in Minneapolis. Minnesota leads 14-0. Michigan shut out in the first half for the first time since their game in 2001 against Ohio State.
Yeah, how about that? And, you know, Minnesota threw one pass in the second quarter. I think second half, Michigan, they got to find a way to get serious about stopping the running game. It's just flat-out effort, I think, in that regard.
I agree, and we're going to get into that, but Minnesota, you got it. They're answering questions tonight that they belong on the national scene. It's a great job out of them. You'll see the same thing. 186 yards rushing in the first half. Expect a heck of a lot more in the second half. Or attempts at it anyway. Let's see if Michigan can stop them at
all. Troy Nienberg kicks off into the end zone over the heads of Marion Barber and Lawrence Maroney. Let's check out the ESPN game track.
Yeah, are we going to see more of this in the second half? Barber with a touchdown run, a beautiful run in the first quarter. And then the freshman Maroney, he also got a little taste of the end zone, Mike.
And I'll tell you what, that Minnesota defense, they've held Michigan to 97 yards and one less ear pad. Watch the white ear pad come flying out of the bar. Oh, man, what a way to end the half, getting crunched. Let's see how Michigan responds. Again, Minnesota has not given up a point in the third quarter all year.
From the 20, 1st and 10. Marion Barber, first down. He managed to walk the tightrope for quite a while. Looked like he might go out near the 30. They give him across the 40 for a 21-yard gain. Leon Hall finally got him across the boundary.
Well, how good is he? He is so good that Vikings head coach Mike Tice said, I'd take that guy. Yeah. He can play for the Vikings.
They said, how do you like the backfield? He said, I'd take number 21. That's a pretty nice praise for a guy that's still got a little bit of time left in college.
His fourth 100-yard rushing game of the season now. The season high was 134 in their win at Penn State. Change of direction by Barber. And nearly 10 more and a late flag thrown. They give him 11 out of bounds at the 48-yard line, chased out by Ernest Shazer. That's a block in the back. Yeah. And that was right at the end of the play when it was really at a time where it couldn't help Barber anyway.
But, this is what needs to happen for Michigan. And we know at halftime they got chewed out. We know they're going to come out and try and hit somebody. But
illegal block in the back, above the waist, on the offense. 10 yards, first down.
For them to win, it's not about can we punch them in the nose hardest. It's about control and patience on defense. They don't need to run over the offensive lineman. They need to ride with them. The O-lineman is cutting them off and chopping them. They need to be patient. They need to play with their hands, and they need to flow. They can't just say, biggest guy on the block is going to win this. They can go ahead and win the punch fight here, but they're not going to win the war overall because they're not flowing and not using their hands.
First and 8. Barber to the short side of the field. Got a couple out to the 44. Here's Alex Flanagan.
Sean, I spoke to Glenn Mason at the half, and he said that he reminded his team that they are playing a very talented football team. He says he wants them to be excited at the prospect of what would be a huge win, but he does not want them to lose focus. He told them you can't get caught up in that thought because he told his team there is no quitting in Michigan. He says if there was one thing he could change about the first half, it would be penalties, but not much else, Sean.
Yeah, and he's kind of picky because they had only 2.
Yeah.
The penalty a moment ago for the illegal block, the third of the night against Minnesota. Barber tackled at the 49-yard line. And another flag down. Lamar Woodley made the tackle. Another holding call. Glenn Mason downplaying the importance of this game, guys, but this is the 7th year He's done a very nice job here. 26 wins in the 4-year period.
Offense doing the run, 10-yard penalty, second down.
Preceding this season, that's the best 4-year stretch here since the early 40s, back when Minnesota was a football power. But isn't this really the kind of game that can elevate your program to a whole nother level?
I think it can, and he said, you know, there's stages for a team, and I think he's right. You know, you're a loser, then you become a winner, then you become a bowl team, then a consistent bowl team, then you jump up over that to a big bowl.
Quick pass to Ellerson. He almost took off down the sideline. He went for 96 and a touchdown last week against Northwestern, the longest pass play in Minnesota history. And Pierre Wood stopped him from doing that again, a 9-yard gain.
His team is ready to jump up into that next echelon of bowls, and partly because of guys like Ellerson. You heard about the 96-yarder last week. He's become a consistent player for this team. Now they have the parts on offense to where they can be a big bowl team.
And if they have the trickle-down effect, guys, to it, being a big bowl team and on the national scene, recruiting. All of a sudden, Michigan looks like a nice choice for some blue-chip athletes. Or Minnesota does, I'm sorry.
That pass deflected and incomplete. Intended for Ben Utek. And that'll bring up 4th down. They get the national spotlight tonight against one of the premier football programs in all of college football. As a matter of fact, Glenn Mason said, we're like the Minnesota Twins. Michigan's like the New York Yankees.
That's right, yep.
Well, and locally, the Vikings don't play this week. They're undefeated, so they've been getting most of the attention here, but they're off. The Twins are done. Great chance to captivate the local market, too. Reese Lloyd the punt. He's been a big lift to their program. They didn't find out until the day before the season opener that he was eligible out of junior college. They had all kinds of punting and kicking concerns, but then Lloyd became eligible the day before the season began. Problem solved. That punt spotted out of bounds at the 17-yard line, a 35-yard kick. Michigan shut out in the first half. They'll take over for the first time on offense here in the second half. Just 97 yards of offense in the first half.
And look at what the triple threat has done through this. Is their averages 4 games, and this is tonight. Edwards is 8 receiving yards. Perry not doing anything on the ground, and Navarre's chucking him deep. Incomplete.
From the 17, 1st and 10. Quick throw to Jason Avant. And he's tackled at the 24 by Justin Isom. Justin's a senior in Huber Heights, Ohio.
So the guy missing from the Michigan offense right now is Edwards. Braylon Edwards, not much happening for him. He's a difference maker. He's a guy that you got to get the ball to. He's off the field right now. He's not out there, but some point during this drive or third quarter, they got to get him involved more.
Edwards has 2 catches tonight for just 8 yards. A reverse. Steve Preston tackled after a very short game by Justin Isom again. Isom already graduated from the University of Minnesota. He transferred in from Minnesota from Butler, and he had lost the starting position after Fraley came on the last 2 weeks.
And does a nice job here, staying to the outside and turning it back in. A lot of speed on this Minnesota defense. This Michigan offense, guys, is out of sync. What they need to do to get into what I think they need to start doing a little more on offense.
On 3rd and 2, Preston, the motion man. Navarre will throw. He's going to run for it as the first down. Out of bounds across the 30 at the 31-yard line.
All right, I'm going to game plan here, Rod. All right? Michigan, what's happening on the runs is they have Boss pulling, but Ben West, the linebacker, is just flying up, and basically it's called trapping the trapper. He's selling his body. Eli Ward's playing up. They're stopping the run. What Michigan needs to do is forget the long passes for now. Dump them over the middle. Not the out route so much, but middle routes. 8 yards, 5 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards in the middle. Keep the linebackers back. Keep the safeties back a little bit. Get them on their heels a bit, spread them out, and then you can run it. So,
all right, Coach, we'll see.
3 minutes played, third quarter. They're trying to set up a screen. Perry avoided Tremaine Banks and is finally pushed out of bounds in Minnesota territory at the 47-yard line by Ben West. Great play by Perry. It looked like Banks would blow up that play. but Chris went leaping over Banks and went ahead for 21 yards.
Yeah, great individual effort here. I mean, you called it. Banks was in great position. Perry, a superior effort to get over him. And Mike, I like what you're talking about with the offense, but that's not what they have at Michigan. What they're going to do is when they want to go short, they go to the screen game, to the wide receivers in the backs, and they go deep. They don't have that intermediate passing game you're talking about.
It may cost them.
First and 10, Michigan. Here's Perry heading it back toward the inside, and a good tackle by Terrence Campbell at the 43. 5 yards on first down for Michigan.
And that's a tackle, I think, in the first couple weeks of the season, Perry breaks. Now, I don't know if it's because maybe he's a little banged up. Maybe it's because he's had a lot of work. But that's a tackle. You see him breaking, and he gets another 20, 30 yards and goes all the way.
Perry has a lot on his mind. His mom recently diagnosed with cancer. He's undergoing treatment. David Underwood comes in at running back. The quick pass to Braylon Edwards. He's pushed out of bounds with a first down at the 36-yard line. Pushed out by Yuki Dozier. So that is 20 straight games now with at least 3 receptions for Braylon Edwards on his 3rd of the night.
Well, and there you see what we were talking about. Their short passing game.
Yep.
Screen to Perry, screen to Edwards.
All outside. Yep.
Edwards had 7 catches for 114 yards and 2 scores last week at Iowa. And another big game in their other loss at Oregon, he had 144.
Double pass.
Preston was a high school quarterback. He has Navarre with lots of room. Navarre inside the 15. Touchdown, Michigan.
Can you say trickeration?
Trickeration. And how about some life on the Michigan sideline? They set him up with his 2 screen passes and then a great throw by Preston. And look at the wall.
It's like a punt return except with slow alignment.
Well, they took advantage of Minnesota being so aggressive on those screen plays.
Garrett Rivas, the freshman, adds the extra point. So Michigan lethargic most of the night, on the board now and down by only a touchdown is Preston, who was a quarterback at Woodland Hills High School near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, found Navarre, who did the rest. It's 14-7 Minnesota. John Navarre on the receiving end with a 36-yard touchdown play. Steve Preston with his first career pass attempt.
Now look at, they get him all the defenders looking this way and coming this way. Set him up and sees him open. Just got to loft it up there. Look at the wall he's got going. Easy run to the outside. Nice lead blockers, all 300-pounders chugging away down the field. I love watching a big guy run downfield. Look at that. That's a punt return wall. That's exactly what that is. Except they're all 300 pounds. And look at them all basically staying on their feet.
How about Navarre running through a tackle? I thought he couldn't run. That's what people said. Said he couldn't run.
As you might expect, it's his first career reception. Troy Nienberg kicks off again. Safe was the sliding Maroney at second base. Now, fellas, 14-7. Minnesota's had it going their way most of the night. If you're a Minnesota fan, shouldn't you be a little uneasy? Gee, it's been going our way all night, and yet we're only ahead by a touchdown.
Well, I think that's right, because on that first drive, they were moving the ball, but they had 2 penalties that pulled them back, and then they give up a big play. So I think if you are a Minnesota fan, you start thinking, wait a minute, was it just a first-half deal?
And I go back to what we talked about at the end of the first half when Minnesota had the ball in Michigan territory at all their timeouts. Was in no hurry to score again, ahead 14-0. You had a Michigan team that looked like it was going through the motions. On the ropes. You've lost 14 in a row to these guys. Bury them while you have a chance. They seem quite content to go off ahead 14-0. Marion Barber stopped for a loss of 1. Lamar Woodley back up left defensive end, up to make the play.
This could be a momentum-changing drive for Michigan. They get out there and get a 3 and out or stop them, get possession again. All of a sudden, there may be a little bit of uh-oh going on.
Well, I think they got to find a way also, Michigan, to get Marlon Jackson involved a little bit. I mean, I think he fires up the defense when he makes plays.
Shot Abdul Khalik. Can't find a receiver. Finally finds Barber in the flat. Makes a man miss. First down. Out to the 36-yard line. A gain of 17. Lawrence Reed made the tackle.
Rod, you talked about Chris Perry. You did that early and has trouble scooting the first tackle. Marion Barber, no trouble.
Yeah, this is what you're supposed to do if you're a good back. You make the first guy miss. That is your guy. You take care of him, and anything else you get, gravy. And Barber did his job.
10 minutes left, third quarter. Barber again. Here another first down across the 45-yard line. Credit Marlon Jackson with another tackle.
How about Greg Esslinger, the center? I mean, he's doing a tremendous job tonight. They get a double team right at the point of attack, and then they seal off the linebacker inside. There's a huge hole.
Esslinger is a guy who had to send around tapes when he was in high school because no Division I team wanted him. He's sending tapes to schools to try and get a look. And he ends up starting as a freshman last year. Incredible work ethic. I love what they say about him. He doesn't play to the whistle. He plays through the whistle.
Well, and they had a pretty good center here before, Ben Hamilton. And they thought Ben Hamilton was just great. And this guy has been playing lights out, very much like Hamilton.
Make your own tape. I'll tell you what.
They pull the center a lot, which you don't see very often.
You don't see it a lot. Well, again, he's about 280, and you're starting to see that in the NFL more, and the scouts look for that. A center that can get out of the move. Another lineman you can get out in front. Usually you have the guards, but when you get the center out there as well, that's big time, and that's something he can do. Now, again, we'll see if he gains some weight, but again, they like their linemen a little smaller here.
He's got good feet. He's a guy that played hockey. You know all about that stuff. You know, he was a hockey guy. What, a defenseman or something?
Well, I bet he was a bit intimidating on skates.
And Utek, the tight end, who's 255 pounds, was a goalie in high school in Hastings, Minnesota. A very good one. Thought about pursuing hockey at the collegiate level. On second and short, there's Barber again. Powering for a couple of extra yards to the 42-yard line of Michigan. Lawrence Reed made the tackle. That's 13 more for Marion Barber III, working on a career night.
Mike, watch the patience. Watch the patience. He waited for the blocks to develop, and then he accelerated through the hole. But watch this guy here. Watch your lineman get out there.
Esslinger again, going up, getting the shoulder, going low, doing just enough. Again, just seal blocks. That's all it is. Seal blocks that time by Esslinger and Quinn. But a great, you hit the nail on the head, Rod. Patience was the key there with Barber.
13 carries for Barber, 156 yards. Here's Maroney with a flag down. And he's down for a loss back to the 44. Roy Manning, a backup linebacker, made the tackle. Another holding call. Number 19, Michigan. And number 13, Minnesota. Minnesota the favorite tonight, despite losing the last 14 head-to-head against the Wolverines. Minnesota trying to remain undefeated. They're 6-0. And leading Michigan 14-7 in the third quarter. Sean McDonough with Rod Gilmore, Mike Golick, and Alex Flanagan. One of the stars of the night for Minnesota, Marion Barber III. He's now 17 yards shy of his career best in rushing yards in a game with 156 tonight. These penalties are really starting to hurt Minnesota. This one takes them back to their own 47. Barber stopped for a gain of 1 by Lamar Woodley.
You call this pretty much the old Barber shot. You got it going in the first quarter, chop them up for a touchdown, and then a big long run in the second quarter. Didn't stop there. You saw that last one a few moments ago, Mike. The patience, the acceleration. He's been everything for those guys tonight.
Got an excellent burst. The patience, as you said, and then boom, he hits that hole and he's through.
This 45-yard run in the first half was the longest play given up by Michigan this year. Big pop delivered by Marlon Jackson on Marion Barber. There's Marion's mom. An 11-yard gain on that play. Mentioned the dad, Marion Barber, played in the NFL with the Jets. Was a great player here in Minnesota. Not here. This is another son's high school game tonight. Marion Barber, the dad, still number 4 all-time in rushing here in Minnesota, more than 3,000 career rushing yards.
Didn't he beat Michigan? His team beat Michigan back in, was it 77?
1977. 16-0. There's the shutout win for the Gophers. There's Maroney with a first down and a touchdown. Mr. Barber's going to get another phone call with an update from Mrs. Barber. She can tell him about a 38-yard touchdown run, second score of the night for the freshman from St. Louis, Lawrence Maroney.
Wow.
Now Reese Lloyd to add the extra point. That's 119 in a row PATs for Minnesota. Another 80-yard drive, 7 plays. And Maroney with his second touchdown of the night. 8 minutes left in the third quarter in Minneapolis, and the Golden Gophers lead by 2 touchdowns.
ESPN's College Football Friday. Brought to you by Singular, the wireless company that fits you best. And by Goodyear. Call 1-800-GOODYEAR for the Goodyear retailer nearest you.
An answer by Minnesota just after Michigan scored to get within a touchdown. The Golden Gophers go 80 yards to score.
Now take a look at the offensive linemen as they seal everybody inside. Now also watch the bad pursuit angles by Michigan. They get sealed inside. Look at Shazer, 25. He comes at a bad angle. That gives Maroney the corner, and they are just going. I mean, they're just killing these guys right there.
I know it's slow motion, but I still wonder if some of those Michigan guys are running as fast as we've been accustomed to seeing them run.
It's an embarrassment right now the way they're getting run on.
Lloyd booms one in the end zone. Minnesota has rushed for 284 yards tonight with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. This isn't Troy State or Louisiana Lafayette they're playing tonight.
And that Louisiana Lafayette is the team they've rushed for the most against this year, 356 yards. Could you imagine if you crossed Louisiana Lafayette out and put Michigan in as the team you ran the ball the most on?
Well, when you beat Penn State and you run the ball like this on Michigan, you're a pretty good football team. I don't think it matters what your schedule was, but when you handle that team at Penn State and you run like this, you're a pretty good football team.
Absolutely.
Minnesota has rushed for at least 240 yards in every game this year. All 7 of them now. Navarre on target. Jason Avant battling for every inch out to the 40-yard line. A gain of 20 and a first down. Yuki Dozier made the tackle. I mentioned the rush yard totals, at least 240 in every game.
Now look at that, 250 on Penn State.
And I tell you what, we've been talking about the backs, but we're giving some love to the line, which we should. This is a blow for smaller linemen everywhere. 280 and 290. They're considered small now, but that's exactly what this offense wants.
Navarre throws quickly. Avant again. Dropped after a gain of 2. Quick reaction by Tremaine Banks.
Do you feel the panic in the Michigan offense? That sense that we must hurry and score. We must throw the ball. Do you? I do. I mean, they come out, they throw the ball. They come out, they throw a screen. I mean, where's Chris Perry?
I agree. I still think they should be using Chris Perry. I'm not impressed right now with the play calling, that's for sure.
Out in the flat, there's Chris Perry on a pass play, breaking tackles, and finally taken down from behind in Minnesota territory at the 46 by Darrell Reed. That is a 13-yard gain and a Wolverines first down.
Deshaun, we talked about it earlier in the game. When Michigan throws the ball more than 40 times, that's not usually a good result. Now, they get a good result on this play because Perry makes a guy miss.
And that's like a sweep.
Yeah, but when they throw it a lot, it doesn't work out for them.
You mentioned it, and I agree. Get Chris Perry the ball any way you can. Get him in space.
This is Perry. He talked about his biggest improvement in his opinion this year is that he's more patient as a runner. He was patient there, waiting for something to develop, but nothing did for him. Kyle McKenzie took him down to the line of scrimmage.
At least go away from your tendencies. You know, first down run by Michigan, first down run by Michigan. I mean, how about, okay, throw it on first down. I'm all right with that. Let's get some second down runs in there. You know, get yourself in a position where you give them a little better chance.
I agree. You have to find a way to keep this Minnesota defense from being as aggressive as they are. As you look at the numbers for both backs, Greg Hudson, the D coordinator, has got these guys frothing at the mouth right now. Michigan's giving them no reason to not do it.
On 2nd and 10, Navarre trying to set up another screen to Perry. And Tremaine Banks played it well. A short gain to the 42-yard line. And that'll bring up 3rd down and 6.
You cannot play a screen pass much better than Banks played it there. Came up.
How many times have they seen it? I mean, it's getting easy to diagnose anymore. I mean, they're running the same play.
I guess so. Yeah. You see it 5 or 6 times, you got to figure it out.
I think so. You got some talented wide receivers here that, you know, if you're going to have to throw the ball, you need to use them a little bit.
How about the noise?
Down and 6. There's David Underwood. Perry's understudy stopped short of a first down by about a yard. And you went for it in your own territory in the first half. Wouldn't you go for this?
Yeah, I like that call. I like that 3rd down call, thinking we're in a territory where we'll go for it. We've got 2 plays. They pick up yardage. I like the call there.
I like it, and Sean, I agree with you. Yes, they have to go for it.
Yeah, I think they decided a play ago that they would go for it on 4th down if they made yards. Yeah.
4th down and 1. Navarre 4 for 4 passing on the drive. And this is a long one, and now Michigan's going to use a timeout. With 4:27 left in the 3rd quarter. Wolverines on the move, still down by 14. Back to the Metrodome where Michigan is looking at 4th down and a long yard at the Minnesota 37. They're 1 for 1 on 4th down tonight. They converted with inches to go in the first half. It's a pass and a bad pass. Navarre threw it too far ahead of Perry, who was open with the running room necessary to pick up the first down.
And that's going to get the folks in Ann Arbor all over him. A clutch 4th down. You've got your man wide open, and Navarre just misses him. Look at all the green.
So everybody's saying, well, why didn't you just run the ball because you needed a yard? Well, you know what? Because he was wide open. John Navarre, 0-6 against ranked teams on the road.
That was a long handoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that play call. That was perfect. They were going to have the first down and much more. Players of this caliber should certainly be able to execute that play. But they did not. So Minnesota takes over at its own 38-yard line. Another ball control drive here. Abdul Khalik throws back for the tight end Utek, and he's thrown for a loss. Looked like a promising play when it began, but Lawrence Reed eliminated the promise in a hurry.
You talk about effort. Lawrence Reed delivered some effort on that play.
That was a huge. If he wasn't there, Utek was going. That was a nice job by Reed.
He's the only man alive on that side. Throw right, throw back. Reed is the only guy in position to do anything. And he does.
That's a nice job.
Loss on the play back to the 32-yard line. 2nd and 16. Abdul Khalik ahead to the 34. We enjoyed our visit with Assad Abdul Khalik yesterday. 23 years old, native of Elizabeth, New Jersey, married with a young son, 7-month-old son, Saif. Because he is a 5th-year senior, he needs just 1 class to graduate. So he stays home in the morning from 7 to 11, babysits for the son, while his wife Jamila goes to school. She's studying to be an X-ray technician.
That makes him husband of the year. He's going to get a lot of votes now.
A lot of brownie points for that.
He says he spends 4 hours every morning saying no and stop to his 7-month-old. Hosack was open beyond the first down marker and dropped the ball.
Hosack's going to go to his quarterback and say, I'm sorry.
He's going to say no and stop.
Yeah, yeah.
No, don't drop it. Stop. You're already there.
Excellent throw. Excellent throw it out. Hits him right in the hands. You got to catch that.
We talked about Kalik at the top of the show and how he had to have a big game, and he said, I can't turn the ball over. I have to live to punt. He's played a great game in that sense.
Reese Lloyd to punt. We talked about how he got eligible just before the season started. Their punting and kicking was so bad, Coach Mason had put ads in the student paper. He'd gone on the radio saying anybody who is at the university wants to come try out, can punt or kick, can come. And a lot of people came. But then they found out Lloyd the day before the season began. There is a flag down on this punt return. He was eligible. He showed up on the practice field. Coach Mason didn't know his name. He knew he was from England. He couldn't remember his name, so he started calling him Winston, as in Winston Churchill. And all of a sudden, Winston started booming field goals of 50-yard plus in practice. Everybody on the Gopher team looked at each other and said, we found ourselves the kicker and punter. And they still call him Winston. Even go in the rooms where they list the roster for the different special teams groups, and when it's supposed to be Reese Lloyd, it just says Winston.
Well, yeah, that's the way that deal works. I mean, once you get a nickname, that nickname sticks.
60-yarders in practice, so that'll get you noticed.
And the walk-off brings Michigan back inside the 14-yard line as they get ready to begin. It's time to take a look again at the new color of money, the redesigned $20 bill.
Is that what a $20 bill looks like?
Not that big.
The new one. That's the new one. Hopefully they won't trip over while it's gone.
My wife only lets me carry singles. So
thank you. She has all the 20s. Navarre in the coverage and intercepted. Picked off by Justin Isom. And he brought it back to the 27-yard line.
Mike, we've been talking about it the entire night. The desperation. And that is a telegraph pass. It is a route that Michigan runs time and time again. Isom saw it in the first half, and he was late getting over. This time, he read it right off the bat. He reads Navarre's eyes, and he jumps all over this route. It's the same thing they ran in the first half.
When you throw deep, guys are going to stay back and just read you and say you're going to throw deep. We're going to bait you. We know which way you're looking. We're going to bait. We're going to wait for the throw. We're going to break on it. It's a great job, but this read almost made it too easy.
That's the first turnover of the game, and the interception by Isom, first of the senior season for Justin. Marion Barber getting a block from Tepe on the corner, and he's pulled down at the 23-yard line by Lawrence Reed. It's a gain of 4 for Minnesota.
Sean, you mentioned it before, and we were talking to the break. Every time they go left, they're getting the corner. Every time they go left, they're getting the corner. Again, with that Michigan defense, it's got to be about flow, using hands, and moving along the line of scrimmage, not as much about penetration, especially when it's going wide. If you're getting penetration between the tight ends or between the tackles, you're not going to be in the play.
Well, they're just cutting Michigan to shreds.
Yep.
I mean, their guys are on the ground.
Literally cutting
them.
Yeah. Legally.
2 tight ends in the game now. Here's Tepe. Down near the 20-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd down and a long 4.
I'll tell you one thing, anybody else who's going to play Minnesota this year, you better come prepared to get down, get low, because they will cut you down. They will definitely send their linemen and just cut you at the knee.
You know what it's almost like? It's almost like playing like an Air Force, like an option team that goes at your legs all the time. You're going to have your scout team, obviously when you're breaking down the film, have the scout team throw at legs. And you hate to do that in practice because you risk injury when guys are diving for other guys' knees, but you have to work on it.
The Metrodome opened in 1982. Minnesota's hosted Michigan here 9 times. The Gophers have never won. Man open, and it is incomplete, but flags thrown everywhere. Postgame, the intended receiver, and he was tackled in what might have saved a touchdown.
Yeah, that was Manning. That's a smart play.
Actually, it is. It got beat, and then you make up for it by, so bad to get beat, but then you make up for it by doing a smart thing.
Yeah, but you know, that play comes about because Minnesota's been able to run, and they've run that option, you know, to the side, and you come back, he's wide open.
Everybody's slowing one. Yeah. It's working because their offense is working. So they're running inside, outside, option, pass to the wide side, pass to the middle. Everything's working.
I've never seen a Michigan team, a defense, so dominated by a team running the ball. I'm shocked by it.
That was the first time tonight they've thrown toward Jared Postgame. First and goal from the 6. Nearing a minute and a half left. We talk about Abdul Khalik changing the play frequently at the line of scrimmage. He might have done it there. There's Barber inside the 5. It'll be second and goal from near the 1-yard line.
Wow, the unsung hero a lot of times is the fullback, and Thomas Tafay just came in like a missile, hitting Marlon Jackson. I heard it all the way up here.
So he may be unsung, but the NFL knows he's out there popping.
Exactly right. There are a lot of halfbacks that are great friends with their fullback. Lead them all the way through.
295 yards on the run, and there's Tafay for another yard and another Minnesota touchdown.
Stunning,
but it's going to be on John Navarre's shoulders the rest of the way. He's gotten a lot of criticism about not having big games in big games.
Yep.
Fourth quarter is going to be all on him, and can he get it done for Michigan?
I think you would agree, fellas, he's been unfairly maligned many times.
Yes, he has.
But tonight, he hasn't done it. But in fairness to John, can you find anybody in a white shirt tonight who has really stood out?
Offensively or defensively, no.
The touchdown by Tafay gives Minnesota its largest lead of the night, 28-7, with 58 seconds left in the third quarter. We talked about how Minnesota has never defeated Michigan in the Metrodome, and their last win in Minneapolis against Michigan was against the then #1 ranked Wolverines at Old Memorial Stadium on the campus of the University of Minnesota, about 10 minutes from here. Marion Barber with the touchdown run, and then Kenneth Foxworth picked off Rick Leach, and the celebration began. The late Cal Stoll was the coach then. Now it's Glenn Mason trying to get his first win against Michigan.
And Mason wasn't certain what it would be like in the Metrodome. He says he's been here with the Vikings when they had things going and with the Twins, but he hasn't seen it quite like this for Minnesota football.
And what he'd like to see, as the kickoff by Lloyd again was unreturnable, is a return to on-campus football with another stadium built over on the campus about 10 minutes from here. They've only won 2 of the last 33 against Michigan, but they've both been big wins. The other time they beat them in 1986, Michigan was ranked #2, and it was Ricky Foggy who led the Gophers, 25-point underdogs in that game, to a win in Ann Arbor. Here's Alex Flanagan.
Well, Sean, the Metrodome is rocking, and that was actually a concern that Michigan had about playing here at the Metrodome. They usually average about 30,000 people. They have 60,000 tonight, most of them Minnesota fans. Lloyd Carr says that he doesn't remember ever playing here when there have been that many fans. Michigan spent the week practicing with simulated crowd noise. Certainly they are used to big crowds, just not against Minnesota.
Not here. Braylon Edwards made the catch and got stopped short of the first down, and Michigan now down by 3 touchdowns against this ball-controlled Gopher offense. Will go without a huddle. They need to score 3 times. They need to do it quickly. Avant. No question about his effort tonight. He's been fighting for every yard after each of his catches. And Ben West made the tackle.
And Minnesota's going to hang back here, and they're going to give them those underneath routes and say, you can have those. We'll come up and make the tackles. But boy, I tell you, I saw Glenn Mason on the field before the game, and he was just absolutely stoked, like he had just had like 1,000 cups of coffee with the energy that was going on in here. He said, if you love college football, this is what it's all about tonight. He's right.
Carr with a lot of time has his receiver, Breston, close to another first down. Out at the 49, it appears to be a first down, and is for Michigan. Kyle McKenzie made the tackle.
And Navarre is warming up, and he has the ability. He's got a strong arm, and he gets into a streak where he's on target. He can get things going, so it's not over yet if he gets on a big hot streak.
4 wide receivers for Michigan. And the throw is short to Calvin Bell. His first catch of the night. He's out of bounds at the 45. The next play will be the last of the third quarter.
Never good in the third quarter when you're in your hurry-up offense. You know things aren't going your way.
What an amazing change in direction for the Michigan team since that win against Notre Dame.
Absolutely.
They were number 3 in the nation and looked every bit like the 3rd best team in the nation. With a loss at Oregon, an unimpressive win against Indiana, a loss at Iowa, and they're having it handed to them tonight, and that one was almost picked off again by Isom as he cut in front of Breston. That's the end of the third quarter. Minnesota looking to take back the Little Brown Jug for the first time since 1986. Leads by 3 touchdowns. Back in Minneapolis, Minnesota with a 28-7 lead, and the numbers tell the story of this Michigan season.
I tell you what, that looks nice, but that's the bottom line. You know, you're going to start to see the underneath routes and such, and you start to see him getting some more numbers in the box scores. It may look good tomorrow with the numbers and such, but wins and losses is all that matters.
Well, he did bring them back against Oregon and Iowa in the fourth quarter, but didn't finish the deal.
Michigan needs to convert this 3rd down and 5. Out in the flat, that pass on the money to Perry, hit him in stride that time, and it's a first down at the 36-yard line.
Well, go ahead. I was going to say, as I was saying about the Oregon thing, he went on a streak in the fourth quarter. Against Iowa, he went on a streak, and he got them close, and then with 2 minutes to go in the ball game, they had a chance to finish the deal with a 2-minute drive, and things fell apart for them. So he has the ability to do that and get them back in this ball game.
First and 10 from the Minnesota 36. And it's Calvin Bell, the senior from Simi Valley, California, with another catch. His second. Yuki Dozier had the coverage.
And again, a lot of criticism will come on the quarterback and a lot of praise will come on the quarterback, unjustly both ways sometimes. So Navarre certainly got criticized more than he should at times, but there are times when he certainly hasn't come up big. But when you're the quarterback a big-time college team, that's what's going to happen.
You know, I think that's part of it, but it's not the NFL. You know, I don't think you give the guys the same kind of criticism you give the NFL quarterbacks.
Just a 3-man rush and a terrific juggling catch made by Braylon Edwards. On an errant throw by Navarre, and it's good for a first down to the 25. Here's Alex.
Hey, Sean, we talk about the criticism that John Navarre receives. He says that the way that he handles it is he ignores it, which of course is easier said than done. He said it took him about a season to learn how to not let things get to him. Lloyd Carr's advice to him early on was don't listen to the radio, don't read the newspaper, can't talk to your neighbors, telling Navarre to put what you hear out of your mind and use it as motivation. But Sean, Mike, and Rod, it's got to be easier said than done, huh?
Without question. He's also very close to his dad, Larry, who he leans on when times are tough.
You have to know that friends and teammates, they hear things.
Sure.
And they tell them, hey, yeah, there was an article about you. Yeah, I saw this in the chat room. you know, he hears it. He knows what's going on out there.
And you hate to have all this pressure on college kids, but you know what? It's the way it is now.
It may be the way it is, but it's not right. It's not the NFL.
It doesn't make it right, but we know that this is big-time college ball. There's a lot on it.
Carr stepped up and got it off to Chris Perry. First down. Out of bounds near the 10-yard line. Pushed out by Ben West. Carr did a nice job there to avoid the rush. He also plenty of running room if he wanted to keep running.
He did, but I think he did the smart thing by saying, you know what, I'm going to get the ball in the hands of my playmaker. So while he could have taken off, he said, I'm going to get it to Perry. He might be able to do a little more with it. I think that was a smart move.
Guys, they get a score and they get a stop. They're right back there.
Absolutely.
15-yard gain on the pass to Perry. LeVar with time again. Sets it up for Perry. Touchdown, Michigan.
That is great usage of the screen. You got a defense playing back, giving some room. You go ahead and throw the screen, get your big guys out in front, and there you go. When earlier in the game, when Minnesota was playing up and attacking more, the screen wasn't working as well. Worked it once or twice, but it was getting stuffed more than a few times. Now you get the defense back, you have some effectiveness.
They did not use a lot of the clock.
Just a minute and 34 to go, the 80 yards, 10 plays. Navarre was 9 out of 10 on the drive. The touchdown by Perry brings life back to Lloyd Carr's sideline. Michigan scored quickly. They're back within 2 touchdowns with nearly a full quarter remaining as we check the ESPN game track.
Marion Barber's having a big night. 16 carries, 163 yards. His high is 173 yards, so he's nearing that.
But Michigan got back with John Navarre catching a touchdown pass, but when they thought they were right back in the ball game in that third quarter, Maroney comes back with that beautiful run that responded to Michigan's score. And now we've just seen Michigan pull within 2 scores with Perry's touchdown.
Would you say we've seen a little bit of a microcosm of John Navarre's career here tonight as Nienberg's kickoff goes out of the end zone?
I absolutely agree. He does things that you say, wow, you love big kid, got a nice arm, a good touch at times, and at other times he'll make a throw that you just say, wow, you got a 4th and 1, you got a wide open guy, you miss him. You throw a ball that gets picked off a little high, you get red, you're baited into it. So he makes some throws, you say, what went on? But he had a fantastic drive there, 9 and 10. But I agree with you, Sean. Yeah, it's kind of been his career.
Minnesota responded last time, Sean. If they can respond now, it will probably take all of the life out of Michigan. Michigan needs a stop.
Minnesota has rushed for 297 yards tonight. Tapé gets 6 more. Tripped up by Ernest Chaser.
Just cut me open and let me bleed. I mean, if you're a defensive coordinator and you see this and you got to get a stop, and they get 6 yards on the first one, you're going, man, come on.
I am just so impressed. Look at tonight what they're doing. I'm so impressed with their running game, and we show the running backs numbers and the quarterback there, but so much credit has to go to that O-line, tight end blocking, wide receivers blocking downfield. What a great team effort of running the ball.
2 tight ends in. Barber gets outside and gets the first down. Out at the 31-yard line.
And there it is right there. Just talking about the line, tight ends. That was Matt Spate that time. 6'7" kid, 265 tight end. What a fantastic block. Look at this. Again, they're high, 356 against Louisiana Lafayette this year.
You don't run for 300 yards against Michigan.
This is amazing.
Barber needs 5 to have a new career high, which is 173 against Louisiana Lafayette in 2001. He sat out almost all of last year with a hamstring injury. Abdul Khalik intercepted, and this will be a touchdown for Jacob Stewart, the reserve safety, sophomore from Ypsilanti, Michigan. And it is a very different football game right now.
Well, we've talked about it all night. He had done such a great job of staying away from the bad play. He told us yesterday he has to live to punt. That time, he tried to make something happen when there was nothing there, Mike, and it cost him. Kalik, he's in the grass. He still throws it late.
Boy, you're so right. Living to punt should have been the mantra there. He's in the grass trying to make a play.
And the extra point makes it a one-touchdown game with 13 and a half minutes left. First interception of the year for Stewart. And you guys talked about it. The rap on Abdul Khalid is that he is prone to making the big mistake. He hasn't done that this year. He just did there.
He's falling down, and he throws the ball out where when you can't hang a ball up toward the sideline. And he does that, and it's the thing that we heard about. He did that last year. He hadn't done it this year. 3 or 4 plays a game killed him last year. He did it tonight, first time.
And that's when a quarterback needs to know what's going on around him. Rod, it was 1st and 10 there.
Yep.
You know what? Take the sack.
Yep.
Even if take the sack 2nd and 16, okay. It's 1st and 10, and you're up 2 scores. No need to try and make that play. That's someone who has to take in everything. Time on the clock, down in distance, where the play's going, is it breaking down? That's one that you know he'd love to have a string on and pull that one back.
Well, he's got to play the next play now.
Yep,
He's got to let it go.
It was the first career interception for Stewart. He brought it back 34 yards for the touchdown. A chance to run back the kickoff for Maroney. And he's tackled at the 24 by Roy Manning. It's the biggest college football weekend of the season. Miami, Florida State, and Oklahoma, Texas on ABC. Georgia and Tennessee on ESPN2. And Ohio State and Wisconsin on ESPN. Separation Saturday, all day on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2.
Georgia, Tennessee.
Tennessee just getting rolled by Auburn.
Everybody's running on Tennessee, and I didn't think that would happen, much like people are running on Michigan tonight, Minnesota, that is.
They stay on the ground with Lawrence Maroney, and he's out to the 26-yard line.
Going back to that Georgia-Tennessee game, do you think, I happen to think Georgia is probably the class of that conference right now.
Yes, I would
they
agree
look
with
that way to me.
Yep. I would agree.
I mean, if Tennessee can't stop the run, they're going to have a lot of trouble with Georgia because Georgia can throw it.
Casey Clausen said he thought this Tennessee team he was on was the best one he had been on, and they took it on the chin.
Now Marion Barber again gets the corner to the left. That's been there all night long. First down out near the 40-yard line. Jacob Stewart again made the play. 13 yards for Barber. And that should get him to the new career high, surpassing the 173 he had against Louisiana Lafayette 2 years ago. He has 181 tonight now on 18 carries.
Great job, great run, but where's the adjustment? Where's the left side? Every time they go left, it's big yards. You've got to adjust to that. You've got to understand where you're getting beat and adjust. Now, again, give the credit to Minnesota for blocking and running, but there's no one touching them to the second level.
Adjustment, get off the blocks.
Boy.
There's Maroney back in there. They can just keep running fresh legs at you all night long. Out to the 46-yard line. Let's check in with Alice.
Sean, something that has been hammered into Michigan defensive players' heads is a motto by defensive coordinator Jim Herman, and it's called "Get the ball back." And he made these little stickers, "Get the ball back," GTBB. They are on all defensive players' playbooks, and they are constantly reminded of this. The goal is to get 3 per game. The most they've gotten is 2. They could use a couple more tonight.
And Jim Herman said that's been his biggest disappointment with the defense this year has been the lack of creating turnovers. They got a big one a moment ago on the interception. To pay near the first down, out near the 49.
Well, they're having enough trouble tonight just getting in position to make the tackles. You know, they got almost a gift by Abdul Khalik in the last series with the turnover. As far as creating other turnovers, I mean, they're doing all they can to get in position to make a tackle.
A very big 3rd down and inches here near midfield.
Gotta get a it going. They got 8 on the play clock.
Saw Philippe leading to the sideline. It took a long time for them to get the play in. They snap it with 1. He has the first down. He's going to score. Touchdown, Minnesota. Assad Abdul Khalik, 52 yards.
I think he said, I'm going to make up for the bad play I had last time. That was going to be a speed option, but he just picked a hole. He just took it, said, I'm going to find the hole down the line somewhere. Everybody starts flying out of there. You get to the second level, nobody there.
I know. Wow. Minnesota brought everybody up. There was no second level at all.
Reese Lloyd adds the extra point. Well, every time momentum seemed to turn against them tonight, the Golden Gophers have responded. Longest run of his career for the senior, Abdul Khalik. And it's Minnesota again by 14 points.
ESPN's College Football Friday. Brought to you by Kia Motors. Kia, make every mile count. And by 1-800-COLLECT. Save a buck or two.
Well, running 52 yards, apparently not enough exercise for Assad Abdul Khalik. He jumps on the bicycle on the sideline.
All right, stay with me here on this. Watch this replay. Okay, Mark Setterson gets the cutoff block. Watch Reed, the linebacker, overrun the play. That creates a huge opening in the middle. One linebacker overruns it. Another linebacker gets cut off, Mike. There's your touchdown.
Again, a great job by the line. Position blocking. That's all you got to do. You don't have to blow anybody off the line. You just position block. And by the start of that option, you get people running on out of there. Abdul Khalik saw the hole and took advantage of it.
Well, we talked about his judgment and decision-making at the line of scrimmage. Carl Tabb runs back the kickoff to the 25-yard line. They'll mark him out at the 21. And he did a great job at the line because you could see he looked up, saw nobody there in the middle. Tony Peterson, the offensive coordinator, said Michigan moves around late.
Right.
More than any team they play against. He said, but all Abdul Khalik will need is 1 or 2 steps, whether it's in a drop or an option, to see what the defense is, and he's smart enough to react.
You know, we said he had to play the next play after the pick.
Yeah.
I think he played the next play.
I would say he did. Great call.
And when Michigan got back in the game, they're down by 2 touchdowns again with 11 minutes left. The screen's been a great play for the Wolverines tonight. Perry out to the 34-yard line, tackled by Ben West, the former walk-on from Appleton, Wisconsin, who grew up a Minnesota Viking fan, even though he was in Green Bay Packer territory. His mom is from Minnesota. Ben put on scholarship after 2 years in architecture major. That is hard.
Hey, that saved him about $14,000, $15,000 getting the scholarship a year.
He said if he didn't get it, he would have left.
Yeah.
He said I was at the point where I was going to have to go to a smaller school and try to play. It was costing my family too much money.
He's nuts. I mean, he's nuts. I mean, he's one of these walk-ons that throws his body everywhere. Talking to Greg Hudson, the D coordinator before the game, said he's got a bad shoulder, bad knee. He said he won't miss a day of practice. He tells the trainers to leave him alone. He said, I am not missing a practice. I will not ever miss a game.
Ben told us the real reason he came here. He was going to go to Wisconsin, but his girlfriend, Erin, was a year older than Ben is. She was already here at the University of Minnesota. Isn't that always the way? Follow the woman.
Yeah, and it's a smart move because she's going to be a doctor.
Well, she's going to med school next year.
He's not nuts.
I guess he's not nuts. He's nuts. He's not stupid. And he will throw his body anywhere.
Navarre throws into traffic. He's lucky to get away with that. Steve Breaston with 2 Gophers right on him at the 45-yard line of Minnesota.
And despite all that scoring we had in just a couple of minutes, there's still a lot of time for Michigan. There's no reason for Navarre to take a chance, like you pointed out there, Sean. He didn't have to throw into coverage. He's got plenty of time in this ball game. They get one more score, the pressure goes back to Minnesota.
Right.
Second and 10. Out of the shotgun. He got away from the rush and then airmailed Breaston, who was well covered in the flat by Justin Fraley. Paul Nixon put the heat on John Navarre. There's Nixon, a 5th-year senior, who came as a defensive back and is now a 250-pound lineman. They list him at 240, but the coaches said he's closer to 250 now.
DB to DN. You don't see that an awful lot.
Third and 10, just a 3-man rush for Minnesota. And a completion for a first down. Breaston couldn't get away, but got 13 to move the chains.
That was a clutch throw.
Yeah.
Clutch throw and catch.
And that's the thing about Navarre. He has the arm strength to do that. It's just the accuracy at times that hurts him. He has a gun.
Mike Wojciechowski finally made the tackle, a backup cornerback. Another former walk-on. He's a junior. Navarre going deep. Has a man open. Touchdown, Michigan. Braylon Edwards.
You know, they may have criticized John Navarre, but you have to respect his competitiveness. He has not given up on this ball game. He keeps coming back. He makes another strong throw. He's a great deep thrower.
He does throw the ball well deep, but when he's on with that, he is on. He runs right by.
Well, we talked about him being,
Banks.
yeah, we talked about him being that hot streak. He got hot, and look where they are right now.
That's a 52-yard touchdown pass after the 52-yard run by Abdul Khalik. Rivas the extra point. And once again, Michigan back within 7 with a long way to go. 10:18 remaining at the sold-out Metrodome in Minneapolis. I would ask you this, guys, and I would ask the Michigan fans and media in particular who criticize Navarre, how many other teams in the country do you think would like to have him?
Oh, hey, you don't have to sell me. I mean, this guy, what he's done in the 4th quarter has been great. And we said he could do something like this.
Oh, it's time to take a look again at that new color of money, the redesigned $20 bill. I think I'm used to this design now by now. All this subliminal messaging on the field here is kind of paying off. I think I got that whole thing memorized now.
You got it down?
I got it down.
You didn't even need the card that time.
Troy Nienberg kicks off. Lawrence Maroney has it go over his head and out of the back of the end zone.
Well, great protection because only 3 guys are rushing, and this was not man coverage. It was a zone, a 3-deep zone. Right. But Edwards just outran Banks. He ran. Sometimes, we talked about this last week, Mike, how zone coverage at some point becomes man coverage.
Right.
And the guy runs by you, now it's man coverage.
That's it. It was. Braylon Edwards wearing the number 1, only the 5th player. Several other Michigan greats who wear the number 1. He went and asked for it. And Lloyd Carr said, you got to prove yourself first before you can have the number 1 jersey. Well, he's got it now.
Well, Minnesota has responded all night tonight. There's Barber turning the corner again. He's shoved out with a first down on the 31-yard line. And then he went up and over the bench. Now on the Michigan sideline, here's Reese.
All right, Sean, over on ESPN2, South Florida quarterback Ronnie Banks has been sacked 9 times. So Jim Levin against TCU puts Brian Fisher in there, a punt returner receiver by trade. He scrambles around and finds Florida transfer Elgin Hicks for the touchdown. The Bulls within 3, and they've got the ball back halfway through the 4th.
Getting hot in South Florida.
Wow. We'll see South Florida a couple times on Friday Night Football this year.
Halloween night we're out there.
And Cincinnati is at Raymond James Stadium. Grant Bowman made the tackle on Marion Barber at the 35. And the clock will run under 10 minutes left. Bowman, a senior from Columbus, Ohio. He's been a leader on this Michigan team. Most yards they've ever allowed rushing is 421, 1968 against Ohio State. Minnesota with a great chance to get that tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say that 14-1 is in jeopardy. But
I'm just amazed.
2nd and 7. Marion Barber again. Tripped up at the 37-yard line. They'll need about 5 to move the chains. Again, it was Bowman who made the tackle.
Sean, they weren't letting him get around the left side that time. That time they came up the field, said, you're going to have to cut it back this time, and Bowman was able to come over. Did a nice job.
Bowman from a great athletic family. His sister Allison was an All-American swimmer at Northwestern. His brother Aaron, a football letter winner at Army. That's been a mainstay. Today is his 21st career start for Michigan. 3rd and 5, and a flag thrown along the far sideline.
Ball start, offense. 5 yards, 3rd down.
We're at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. What Minnesota fans have been billing as the most important game played by the Golden Gophers since 1960. That's the last time Minnesota was 6-0. And they lead number 19 Michigan by a touchdown with 8.5 minutes left. Michigan just scored to get within a touchdown. On 3rd and 10, that pass nearly intercepted. Marcus Curry made a quick move on the ball. And a punting situation for the Golden Gophers.
Well.
Are you implying we have a situation developing here?
There is a developing situation, yes.
Well, now if you're Michigan, you don't have to stay with the no huddle and throw on every down.
Nope.
But why would you change?
That's an interesting thought. That's what was working for you. Do you stay with it, or do you go back to the conventional offense?
Which didn't do anything for them in the first half when they did not score. Reese Lloyd, a tumbling punt. Fielded on the run by Breaston. He is dangerous. And they finally get him on the turf at the 40-yard line. A 44-yard punt and a 15-yard return.
A lot of score in this quarter. First, there's Abdul Khalik going on the long run on 4th down. Navarre says, we're going to go a long way as well, but we're going to do it through the air. To Braylon Edwards.
That was a 52-yard score, the most recent score that got them back within a touchdown. Now the crowd trying to help the Minnesota defense. 1st and 10 Michigan from their own 40. They do throw. Over the middle, it's Breaston. Tackled by Brian Smith, a reserve linebacker.
There you go, still up at the line, no huddle, Sean. Talked about that, and I think Minnesota needs to start playing a little tighter.
But you know, just because they're going no huddle, they don't have to give up on their running game. Things are in their favor right now. They've got some momentum.
Here's Perry, has the first down. They gave him forward progress to the Minnesota 48. Eli Ward belted him back. 1st and 10, Michigan.
Glenn Mason said at halftime, told Alex, hey, he told his team, there's no quit in Michigan. Expect these guys to come back in the second half. They're back.
But Can Navarre continue to make big plays, or will he make a costly mistake? Perry tripped up in the open field. Very nice tackle by John Pavelski, a backup safety. He's a sophomore.
Boy, what a nice job, because there was a lot of room to run. Comes off the block of Avant, skates through the two linemen and goes low. That was a big play.
Pavelski, another former walk-on. Moving along the line, but no flags. Navarre throws. He was very nearly across the line of scrimmage, but no flag down. And Braylon Edwards takes the ball to the 31. Brian Smith, the tackle. First down, Wolverines.
John Navarre is showing some skills.
Yes, he is.
I mean, he showed some pocket presence. He showed an ability to throw while he was on the move and to put it there accurately.
Their fans or media think this guy's a bad quarterback. They're nuts. 6:45 left, and that is almost intercepted. And I was reserving the right to change my comment. Justin Isom broke it up. That's the thing that brings him the criticism.
Well, the criticism is he'll play great, and then when the pressure's on, they get him at the right spot, but make a mistake.
It's all about the big game, though. Look at the hook that Chris Sims had on him at Texas, that he couldn't take the big game, couldn't win the big game. You get stuck with that when you're the quarterback of the team that doesn't win the big game.
Like you're the only one out there playing the big game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's unfair at times.
I'd take Chris Sims.
It is fair. He shouldn't have thrown that ball. There are 3 red shirts there. He should not have thrown that one.
And Isom couldn't hang on. That would have been a huge turnover, obviously. Perry's open in the flat. The linebacker Smith trying to catch up to him. That's a mismatch. Perry down inside the 10, but they're going to mark him out back at the 13-yard line.
Boy, Navarre's got that throw down now. He missed it on the 4th and 1 earlier in the half. He gets it out there, gets Chris Perry in stride. There's only one man out there for Perry to beat. Nice one-handed grab. Perry takes him to the corner.
That's the 9th reception for Chris Perry, who had 16 for the season. How about those second half numbers for Navarre? 23 out of 29 for 274 and 2 touchdowns. Edwards upended, well played on the corner by Yuki Dozier. Dozier, another veteran player, junior from Bradenton, Florida, who lost his starting position in spring ball, but earned it back in fall camp.
Talked about Perry because I have a feeling we'll get another pass to him. The 16 receptions coming in today was already a career best.
Yes, it was. His single season high. Now he has 25 for the year. 6 minutes remaining. 2nd and 7, Michigan looking for the tying touchdown. From the 10, the deep handoff. Perry walks in. Touchdown, Wolverines.
Now that was the Chris Perry that we saw the first 3 weeks of the season. A great cut, and he accelerated out of it right into the end zone.
And what a change on the sidelines. The Michigan sideline all going nuts. The Minnesota sideline, I would say, stunned at what has gone on.
Minnesota had a 21-point lead. Now just the extra point to tie the game, and it is up and good from the freshman, Garrett Rivas. A great night for the Heisman candidate, Chris Perry. Michigan back even with Minnesota. Four touchdowns in the 4th quarter for Michigan. Still 5:48 remaining. They've come from 3 touchdowns down to tie the game in the 100th anniversary meeting in the Little Brown Jug Series that dates back to 1903. When Michigan came to Minneapolis, Michigan riding a 28-game winning streak under legendary coach Fielding Yost. He was worried about whether Minnesota would provide untainted water, so they brought their own water in a jug, and they left it behind after the game ended in a 6-6 tie in 1903. It ended before the game actually was played to its completion, because when Minnesota scored it tied at 6 with a couple minutes to go, their fans stormed the field, and the officials stopped the game. Michigan, over the previous 2.5 seasons before that game, fellas, had outscored their opponents 1,631 to 12. So you can understand why the Minnesota fans rushed the field when they scored. Michigan sent a letter. They said, we'd like our jug back. They said, you're going to have to win it back. And in 1909, the next time they met, Michigan did win the jug back. And they've been playing for that jug ever since. And Glenn Mason has never seen it because his team hasn't won it.
Great storyteller.
Thank you, buddy. How about that season? They were the only team that scored against Fielding Yost's team.
That is unreal.
That 6-6 tie.
Oh, well, you know what happened? They were looking forward to Ohio State there.
Looking ahead, huh?
Yeah. Even back then.
Let's see if Minnesota can respond again. They didn't get a very good kickoff return, only to the 14-yard line. And Thomas Tapei goes out to the 17. The little brown jug is in that hamper under lock and key. There have been reports that some years Michigan didn't even bring it with them.
No, and you know something? I bet in some years they probably painted the whole thing Michigan blue. They figured they'd never give it back to Minnesota, so just paint it blue.
Well, this crowd is flat now. They're stunned by this fourth quarter rally by Michigan. Option, Abdul Khalik out to the 21, but they'll need 3 on third down. Lamar Woodley made the tackle. Grant Bowman also in on the play.
Well, not playing from ahead anymore with that running game. Now Michigan can creep up a little bit because certainly Minnesota hasn't had to show anything in the passing game.
Oh, you know the throat is getting a little bit dry on some of the Minnesota players right about now.
Play calling very, very key right here.
Very conservative so far, as you could understand, starting at the 14-yard line with a team that doesn't throw much. Abdul Khalik lofts it up. Great effort by Aaron Hosack, but excellent coverage by Marcus Curry. And it'll be 3 downs on a punt for the Golden Gophers. And everything going against them right now.
You called that. You called that they would be looking for that, Rod. 6'5". Hosack going against 5'11" Curry. Size advantage. Curry did a nice job.
Hey, he did a great job. He got his hands on him, kept him from getting to the spot that he wanted to get to. And now, oh boy, big punt.
From Reese Lloyd. Steve Breston, who's been averaging 17 yards per return for the year. Best in the Big Ten. Forced back to the 25 after a booming punt. But he brings it back to the 42, so that's right on his average of 17 yards on a return. Nice punt by Lloyd. 56 yards. Separation Saturday continues tomorrow. 2 games in prime time on ESPN2 at 7:45. It's number 10 Georgia taking on the 14th ranked Volunteers of Tennessee. Then at 9 Eastern on ESPN, the 3rd ranked Buckeyes travel to Madison to battle Anthony Davis and number 22 Wisconsin. There are 7 Big Ten teams in the top 25 this week.
I don't know about you, but I got my ESPN game plan. I'm not moving tomorrow.
It's also available as Ohio State, Wisconsin in stunning high-definition TV on ESPN HD. The pass through the hands of Preston. 2nd and 10. Kyle McKenzie had the coverage. If you'd like more information on Separation Saturday, as always, you can log on to ESPN.com.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to call you as every game finishes tomorrow.
I got my honeydew list going on.
No. You can have honeydew list, but you can't have it on a Separation Saturday. You can have it every other Saturday.
Well, if he doesn't do the honeydew list, it could be a different kind of Separation Saturday.
Yeah.
2nd and 10. The pass caught for gain of 5. Jason Avant out near the 46. John Pavilski made the tackle, and another critical 3rd down here. Lloyd Carr's offense has been unstoppable here in the 4th quarter.
Talk about Separation Saturday. It's leaking over here to Friday. Minnesota thought they were separating themselves into the national scene tonight with that big lead. All of a sudden, we have a big game.
Big screen pass if you're Minnesota.
Chris Perry takes the handoff, and appears to have the first down. Very near the yard marker at the 48 of Minnesota.
Man, he ran hard on that one.
He sure did. He's done that all night. He's rushed now for 77 and had 111 yards receiving. This will require a measurement. It's hard to tell. Sometimes when the tip of that ball doesn't get all the way to the far end of that line, they're short. That's the best hedge I can do under the circumstances.
I'm just going to say I think he gets it. I think he has it. Because if I'm wrong, who cares? I'm always wrong. Does it really matter?
Well, we've heard your radio show. We know.
Oh, hey. I said he's a little short, I think.
And he appears to be short. The referee, Steve Payman, looking down. Wow, what a decision now for Lloyd Carr. If you don't get it, you give them a very short field. On the other hand, your offense has been dominant, but it's been dominant throwing here in the fourth quarter.
But you know something? My defense, if I'm Michigan, has been playing better. I kick it away.
You got 320-pound linemen. You got a 6'6", 240-pound quarterback. There is no doubt I run a quarterback sneak right here.
I kick it away. I kick it away.
I break the tie with Mr. Golick. I think you go for it. Everything's on your side right now.
All right, if you miss this, you can go home. Game over.
Oh, come on.
No. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have a short field if I'm Minnesota.
You still have to score. You have to move the ball. Timeout called by Michigan with the play clock winding down. One timeout left for the Wolverines with 3.5 minutes to go. Pulsating action here in Minneapolis. We're back in Minneapolis. Minnesota has led virtually throughout. They had a 14-0 lead at halftime, had a 21-point lead in the second half. 28 points in the fourth quarter. Michigan in a tie game with 4th and inches and going for it at the Minnesota 48.
Going over the center. Oh, now they're going in.
And Navarre got it. Yeah. As you said, this big line, Mike, and a 6'6", sturdy quarterback like Navarre, you can't get that.
No, I mean, you used to be able to walk up to the line and say, guys, we're running the quarterback sneak.
All right. You win for it, you got it.
We're not rubbing it.
So I would say, Mike, there is no question in that situation. To summarize, that going for it is the right thing. But Chuck agreed too. There was a landslide. Navarre back out of the gun. Over the middle, it's Avant, and now they're inching toward field goal range. Their longest field goal of the season is a 47-yarder by the freshman Rivas. They're in about 50-yard field goal range right now after a gain of 14.
Deep drop by the linebackers right now. They're throwing right underneath it. Watch Rivas kicking before the game a little bit. He was hooking him just a bit, kicking more line drives.
1st and 10, Navarre with all day to throw. How about coming after him once or twice? That one's incomplete again with very little rush. But if you're in Minnesota, might you want to change it up a little?
Well, I think normally you would. I think they're a little bit concerned that the bigger, stronger, more athletic wide receivers are out leaping their guys down the field, running by them, and they don't want that matchup.
I'll tell you what else they're concerned about. You blitz a linebacker, and if Michigan runs their 40th screen of the night, you're in trouble. They've run a lot of screens, and if your linebacker's caught running up the field to the quarterback, you could be in trouble.
But you can mix it up other ways. I mean, you can play zone and bring some a little bit more pressure up front.
2:51 remaining. One timeout for Michigan, 3 for Minnesota. Perry stumbled as he took the handoff and got a yard, but that's it. It'll be 3rd down and 9. And the clock runs.
Here's where you need a play call. You're either going to go for field goal position or you're going to go for the 1st down. That's a decision to make here. This is what's been going on with Navarre. What kind of throw does he make in these kind of situations if they go that route?
I think as hot as Navarre has been in the fourth quarter, you let him throw that deep out, that corner route. Let him throw it.
4 receivers. Screen again, and it's there again. Perry down the sideline. Tackled at the 22. It's a 1st down for Michigan with 2:06 left, a 10-yard gain.
caught Minnesota with a stunt. Bringing their linemen inside, and everybody just slipped out to the right.
Now what's going to happen here? Michigan's going to run the ball. Minnesota's going to have to start using their timeout.
Yes, they should.
They're going to have to leave some time on the clock. Michigan, I'm sure, is going to go for run the clock down, go for a field goal.
It's Perry, tackled by Pavelski as he got inside the 20 to the 19-yard line. I'm with you, Mike. How about a timeout, Minnesota? Time's not a problem for Michigan.
You've got 3 timeouts, and you're letting that clock run down. It's going to be down to almost a minute if he burns it all the way down.
I don't understand this at all. You know, you let the clock run out. We go back to the end of the half when they were content at 14-0, boys. You think maybe they'd like to rethink that too?
Well, the fans now are starting to get pretty upset here.
I don't understand this at all.
They're going to let it run down and burn their last timeout. Michigan is.
Yeah, Lloyd Carr says, thank you very much. We're content to let it keep running.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do if you're Minnesota? Let them take it down to 0 and kick a field goal when you have no chance to respond if they make it? Wow. 35-all with just more than a minute left in Minneapolis. Garrett Rivas, the true freshman from Tampa, Florida, out of Jesuit High School, getting ready for what would be a game-winning, in all likelihood, field goal attempt. Coming up on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt and Kevin Frazier. Those stories you saw on your screen, including Kobe Bryant speaking about his situation. Here's Perry. Lost the football. And it looked like
Michigan got it back.
Tim Massacoy, the tight end, recovered it. There was also a helmet that came flying off. And Massacoy got it at the 14-yard line.
Sorry, I yelled, Sean. I got caught up in it.
I don't blame you. Everybody in the stadium yelled. Great hit by Eli Ward to knock that ball out. Now a timeout called by Minnesota. Well, they let a lot of time go off before the previous play by not using a timeout.
Wow. That was a big hit. And Massacoy was hustling on his block and wound up in the right spot. Otherwise, that ball bounces to Minnesota.
Yep. Well, they got themselves lined up for a nice chippy field goal here pretty soon.
Rivas has had a good year. You mentioned 5 out of 6 kicking field goals this year. Along the 47, he's got plenty of leg. Right now, it'd be about a 30 or 31-yard field goal.
Glenn's got to be in shock. We're looking at Glenn Mason. He's just got to be in shock. His team just ran all over Michigan tonight, yet he's about to possibly be beaten by a game-ending field goal.
Funny thing happened in the 4th quarter. John Navarre.
Absolutely right. What have you done for me lately? 0-6 against ranked teams on the road. You know what? No time like the present to go ahead and change that.
If Michigan wins this ball game, Navarre may have saved their season.
That's a great point.
Well, by their own admission, everybody we talked to the Michigan side said, we lose this game, we can even forget about the Big Ten, which is one of their few remaining goals. They were thinking even bigger than that before losing 2 of their previous 3 games. They were down by 21. Now they're just content to take a knee, avoid a disaster, keep it in the middle of the field. And that gives Minnesota a chance to use a timeout with 51 seconds left, and it all goes on the shoulders of Rivas, the 18-year-old. If they had used the other one, they wouldn't have any timeouts left, but there'd be about a minute and a half on the clock. So here's the freshman Rivas to attempt a 33-yard field goal. And that is right down the middle. And Michigan leads for the first time tonight with 47 seconds to play.
All right, let's spin it the other way now. Now, Nienberg has been kicking the ball out of the end zone a couple of times. A couple of times they've been getting a return. So first we'll see what kind of return we get. And remember what we talked about as we take a look at this good field goal here. The leg of Reese Lloyd and what he did in practice kicking 60-yarders. So you have a couple of timeouts, not a ton of time. Let's see if they can get a return at all, where they would need to get. For a 60-yarder, if you did it in practice, you'd need to get to Michigan's 42-yard line, 42, 43-yard line. So that's kind of the area we're looking at.
They've got the 1 timeout, and They've not had a lot of success getting the ball down the field. Right. Ball game, Minnesota I'm talking about. So they're going to have to come up with some plays, and only 47 seconds and 1 timeout.
And likely pass plays with an offense that has thrown the ball very little this year. They've thrown 14 times tonight. That's their average pass attempts per game. Abdul Khalik is 7 out of 14 for just 64 yards passing. They have rushed for 406 yards tonight.
I hope we do not see the squib kick. I can't stand it. This kid's been booting him out of the end zone. Let him kick the ball.
Troy Nienberg booting it into the end zone. Maroney let it bounce. So Minnesota starts at the 20. They had to be dreaming about the celebration to come, the step forward that this program would take with a win over Michigan for the first time in 15 tries. It's still possible.
Thanks, Alex. And I'll tell you why they were unable to stop the run. Because they run on every play. But in this game, they averaged 8 yards a rush. That's incredible. What a week for comebacks in football. Monday night, we told you the Colts rallied from a 28-7 deficit after 3. They came back to beat the Bucs 38-35 on the road. Same score, same situation with Michigan. Only the Colts needed overtime. The Wolverines were able to do it in regulation. And now, you heard from Lloyd Carr on tape. I want to hear from the man live. More importantly, I want to hear from Glenn Mason.
Me too.
Why do you throw the football when you've gashed the Wolverines for 425 yards, most ever allowed by Michigan? Their previous most allowed, 421 to Ohio State. He's got some explaining to do. The live post-game news conferences are coming up. Michigan came in with the label overrated because they haven't performed well recently. But they end Minnesota's perfect season. They beat the Gophers for the 15th straight time in the 100th anniversary of the Little Brown Jug. John Navarre, 358 yards passing. Michigan fans have been all over this guy because he came in 0-6 in road starts against top 25 teams. So he silences the critics for now. Meantime, we want to hear from Sean McDonough, Rodney Gilmore, and Mike Golick.
Tonight here in Minneapolis, the undefeated Minnesota Golden Gophers coming in at 6-0, rushed for 424 yards against Michigan, the most the Wolverines have ever given up on the ground, and Minnesota lost.
I'm not sure I believe what we saw tonight. Minnesota dominated the ball game almost all the way. Marion Barber was fantastic, over 400 yards, as you mentioned, yet they couldn't close it out in the fourth quarter.
We saw John Navarre take over in the fourth quarter, a guy who was 0-6 against ranked teams on the road. Well, he gets a big win here, and he comes through mainly in the fourth quarter by catching a touchdown pass as well early with a nice convoy there of offensive linemen. Also a play they used a lot tonight that was successful was the screen pass to Chris Perry, getting him out in space. And then certainly Navarre throws a nice deep ball, this one to Braylon Edwards for a touchdown. So he kind of ran the gamut of what he did, either catching or throwing the ball. But give him credit. He was much maligned, unfairly at times, but he certainly came through.
Well, and I thought Minnesota didn't help themselves late in the ball game when they had their timeouts. They did not use them when they had Michigan down in their territory trying to score. They could have saved some time, but they didn't use their timeouts well.
Navarre 33 of 47 for 353 yards passing, 198 in the fourth quarter to set up the heroics of Garrett Rivas, the freshman kicker. Broke the 35-35 tie with under a minute remaining. Michigan went into that fourth quarter down 28-7, scored 31 fourth quarter points to beat Minnesota and hand the Gophers their first loss of the year. The final, Michigan 38 and Minnesota 35.
What happened to the Gophers in the fourth quarter? Here's Glenn Mason's live postgame news conference.
Unfair to, and I won't get involved in singling out individuals. Minnesota's a team, always has and always will be. Questions?
Talk about, were you conserving the timeouts at the end there? Because you probably have to, Marshall.
I thought they were playing for the field goal, and and that's what they were doing. And I figured try to save them the best you can, and have, hopefully 2 left, and hopefully get hot. And we have a guy that I'm not afraid to take a shot at a field goal from 60 yards or better. So that's what I was trying to do.
Penalties always hurt, but it seemed like tonight they took away so many big plays.
Well, I don't want to be smart, but what do you want me to say on that? I mean, I've already been hit on radio. I've been hit. We had an inordinate number of penalties against us. And if I say anything about it, it's wrong, and it sounds like sour grapes. And I don't like it. I guess I'll have to look at the film and you know, all you wanted to call it fair because that's what it's about. It's for kids. And if it's legitimate calls, it's legitimate calls. And if they're not, I still don't think that's what cost us the game. We could overcome that.
Talk about them going to Perry out of the backfield, and was there a way to adjust to that? Or was it just sort of...
Well, we didn't have a way, obviously. You know, I know what a lot of people, novices will say, well, they went to prevent defense. We did not go to prevent defense. We just had, we had trouble getting pressure on Navarre. They got into a good offensive line. They got 3 All-Americans in there. We probably got to them as good as anybody. And, but we gave them some time, and you know, they've got skilled players. And, you know, I was amazed how they went from being cold to hot, and then we couldn't seem to make a break and gave them life.
Was there any? I mean, did you get any sense of why that was? Why you guys maybe went from hot to cold there?
No, I didn't have any sense of that. It's a game. It's people making plays, kids trying hard, isn't it?
What did you like defensively? What in the first half? Because it seemed like your guys were really good defensively in the first half. What did they do well from your perspective?
Well, let's face it. You look at the night, we defended the run awful well, and we had trouble with the pass. They came out trying to run the football on us, and they had some, you know, they had some problems. And you know, we played awful well that first half. We would have played well the second half defensively would have won the football game, but we didn't. You know, someone has something to do with that, you know. But I told the players, I mean, I stand on the sideline, I was frustrated we couldn't stop them, but it wasn't that a lack of effort of those kids. They're trying as hard as they possibly could. That's the only thing I'll ever ask out of them.
They invested a lot in this game, I think. How do you try and convince them that it's just one game you can move on?
See, that's a misnomer that we invested a lot in this game. College football players invest a lot in their team. It's not week to week. They worked extremely hard to get to this point. But I'm of the belief when you work that hard, just because you have a setback doesn't mean you quit and you give up. You get up and you go again. And you know, it's you know, obviously we got a challenge because they're down. You know, they're down right now, and but we got the right type of kids. We got to regroup and come back against a very good Michigan State team. And
Glenn Mason, come on. Aside Abdul Khalik said this is what you live for, so they did invest a lot in this game, and they simply fell apart. That's the bottom line. Michigan came to life in the second half. Look at those drives. 8 plays, 10 plays, 5 plays, 8 plays, 12 plays. Wolverines down 14-zip at the half, finished with 466 total yards. What a comeback.
So the Golden Gophers failed to remain undefeated.
Worked that play in practice this week. I told him, I said, look, you know, you're not going to make a big play with John in there in that play. And sure as hell, we scored a touchdown. So tells you how much I know.
Kind of lost in all this is Garrett's kick.
Oh, wow. Garrett Rivas, you know, is how about that for a freshman? I mean, how about that for a freshman? And
do you think this?
But that was a team thing too. I mean, all those extra points, and you know, hey, one of the most underrated things in football anymore is extra point field goal protection. Those people up front, they're coming hard and they're knocking you back, and so it's and you just have to accept that, you know. But you take a lot of punishment. But we had a good, very good snaps all night from Ross Mann, and Gutierrez did a good job getting the ball down.
Do you think this could be a springboard for this team?
Well, you know, what it does is it keeps us in the race. That's what we wanted to do, stay in the race. You got to take it one game. We're not a great football team. I mean, we didn't, you know, but we got great heart. I'll tell you that. We got great heart.
Larry just said that it's tough. He doesn't even really know what happened out there. Is it tough for you to just process because it was such a wild game and you have to think about it for a while and think of everything in order?
Well, Yeah, when you have as many things happen as you happen in a game like that, what's difficult is to keep them in sequence so that you can discuss the game, and that's particularly hard for me because I'm getting up there,
Minnesota fans filled this place for the first time in years, and maybe the biggest game here in 30 years. People were calling it, and I think they came to see what they didn't answer whether this team was ready to make the step to be a legitimate contender and maybe a New Year's Day bowl team. And maybe they still don't know. What's your perspective?
Well, I think one thing that they proved to me, and I would be very, very surprised if they didn't prove to themselves. They're an outstanding football team. They can play with anybody, and they're well coached. And as I said, it's my heart goes out to them because I know how hard they played. I know how well they prepared, and so they're gonna. And I'll tell you, their fans are super. Fans are super.
Special teams held their own.
Hey, Mitch. Hey, you guys did a great job. Good luck the rest of the way.
Special teams held their own this week. What adjustments did you make?
Well, we worked hard, and we got a long way to go. But what I think is this: Troy Nienberg did a great job kicking the ball out of the end zone. I don't know how many returns they had, but Troy did a great job kicking the ball. But we got a lot of work to do there, and hopefully we'll get that done this week.
Did they do anything in particular defensively to keep you guys grounded in the first half?
Well, I'll tell you, there's two drives that I remember. The one that really upset me is we got a penalty. We got a holding penalty. We had a third down in, I think, 4 or 5. We got an offside, we had a motion penalty. And then I think on the next play, we got a holding penalty. So that killed a drive because we hit Breston for a first down. The first time, really the best field position we had in the entire first half with the exception of the first drive. But we came out running the football, and but my sense was that Minnesota was really playing hard, and normally early in a game, that's when you're going to be the toughest to run on. And so I don't know if we didn't do a good job. I'll have to see the film.